Look. Reminds me of a joke from the late, great Irwin Barker. He went to his friend's wedding. It was his 5th marriage. You could tell he wrote his own vows because he opened with, look. I feel that way about how the season has gone so far, and I'm nonplussed. I said that we need to get to at least the halfway mark before we decide that maybe the show should be conducted by 2 other cappers, which gives us 2 more weeks. Bebsie's coming off a 5-5 week down 0.43 units. I'm coming off a 7-9 week down 2.95 units. And I expect better. And, we're always going to be honest and transparent with our picks. And when that happens, there is worse nightmare situations that can come up. And this is one of them. And so I hope that I beat the shit out of this card. I know that the chat is a glorious bastion of winners. And I hope that I can change things because I had a great start to the season. And it's now been 5 straight weeks of struggle. So we'll review last week's action. Before I do that, let me welcome my co-host, Rob Bebenek, to the show. Bebsie, how are you, my friend?
Jimmy, I'd be lying if I said I was doing good. I mean, you can see that. You can see it's just a disaster for old Bebsie right now. I mean, what more is there to say? Bebsie's struggling.
Well, I still think we need to at least get to the halfway mark of the season before we decide to do something drastic, something horrifying. And I think that we have nice opportunities in these next 2 weeks, and I believe in what we're doing, and I'm ready to push forward. I have poured a scotch. I have beat the shit out of this card for hours upon hours. I've made no bets. I want to talk them all out. Bebsie's the same way. He's not locked anything in. Bebsie, this is to us turning this around right here, right now, in Week 8. I believe in us. I'm going to drink to our Week 8 glory right now. To you, Bebsie, and to us succeeding as we move through this difficult year.
Nostrovia.
Delicious. All right, I had to get that out of the way. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We got Nate Dogg in the house, Nuke Worker, I Heavy, Gerald Jones. Gerald Jones coming in hot. Was first against a spread pool of 400 people. Winner for the season gets $4K. Great job. There's Birdie in the house, Viper NB, J-Dub, Dennis Trusty, Caveman Bets ready to get to work. Cindy plays horses. Cindy, you're a spectacular thoroughbred capper. And you never need to apologize. And we have Breeders' Cup next week. JT in the house, Cab ready to go. Viper, Burgundy Bets. All right. Nuke Worker sending us positive vibes. Birdie says, you will be fine. Stop with all the drama. And Ryan Thorson says, obviously winning units is a big deal, but all the insight that you bring to the table is huge. Thank you for all the hard work. Well, thank you for saying that. And I believe that we will turn it around. I believe we will turn it around. So it is time to get to work. A quick review of what happened for us last week, 7-9 I went, and really irritating. Look, I made a bunch of mistakes, but it still could have been a profitable week. Broncos plus 3.5 was a casher. Denver, Cleveland over 40.5 was a mistake. Giants plus 3 was an easy casher. Washington plus 9.5. Look, they had 150 more yards than the Packers. Heineke saw ghosts by the goal line, and that made me so angry. That's about as angry as I've been watching a football game when Heineke was too afraid to if he got a tiny bit of contact, he just got to cross the goal line. If that had been my son out there, I would have run onto the field, blindside hit him, drove myself to jail right afterwards. Seahawks plus 5 was a casher. The Falcons double up should have been a casher, but you're never comfortable with Matt Ryan. Falcons first half win, Falcons minus 2.5 loss. It was because I got in late. Birdie still cashed. Even Pavone, who got in late, Now, when I say late, because that went down to 1.5 before kickoff. So at the wrong time, I should say. I lost on the total in the Atlanta-Miami game under 47.5. Houston-Arizona over 47.5 was a loss. Bengals plus 6.5 was an easy casher. Then Detroit, LA Rams under 50.5 casher. Indianapolis, San Francisco over 41.5 casher. And then losses on the Chiefs -4, Eagles +3, Jets +7, and Texans first half +10.5. 7 and 9 down 2.95 units. My record there on the screen. Bebsie, a 5-5 week. You lost with Washington +9.5. You cashed with the Falcons first half, lost by a hook in the full game -2.5. Cashed with the Patriots -7, Raiders -3. Lost on Rams first half -8.5. Lost on the double up with the Packers running backs Jones and Dillon over.
They ran like 10 times the whole game.
I know it was wild, but you cashed on Fields over 19.5 rush yards and Taylor over 68.5 rush yards. All right, it is time to get to work and move forward. We have 2 weeks, in my estimation. We have 2 weeks before the halfway mark in the season, and I believe that we can put 2 nice weeks together and feel good moving into the second half of the year. Are you ready to attack the Thursday nighter?
Yes, I am, Jimmy, and I'm going to take Birdie's advice here. I'm going to buck up, and I'm going to attack this fucking card.
Let's go. We start with the Packers, 6-1, 3-1 on the road at the Arizona Cardinals, 7-0, 3-0 at home. We're at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. So huge news coming in that has to be talked about first is COVID is attacking the Packers. Devontae Adams placed on the reserve COVID list on Monday. Today, Alan Lazard on the reserve COVID-19 list, which means unless Marcus Valdez-Scantling can come off the injured reserve, he's missed the last 4 weeks with a hamstring injury, then they'll be down their top 3 wideouts versus Arizona. Devontae Adams is vaccinated, so he could have an easier time getting off the list. The team's also expected to be without defensive coordinator Joe Barry for Thursday's game, and LaFleur says there are potentially some other issues within the coaching staff as well. So let's start with the market analysis in this game and then check out where the cash is. So with spreads and totals here in the Thursday nighter, this total opened up at 52.5 and is dropping. Packers are losing wide receivers, losing offensive talent, so it's dropping down to 50.5 or 50. The Cards went from 3.5-point favorites to 4.5-point favorites. When Devontae Adams was announced out, they went to 6-point favorites. And when Lazard was announced out, they're now at 6.5-point favorites. When we go over to the cash in this game, we have 7,981 tickets in at this point. 60% of the tickets are on Arizona. 59% of the cash is on Arizona. Then we have 72% of tickets on the over and 41% of cash on the over. Interesting that the public still thinks points will be scored, whereas the big bets are coming in on the under. Adams leads the Packers in catches, 52, receiving yards, 744, tied second in the NFL in catches and alone in third in yards among all receivers. But the Packers coming off their 6th straight win, comfortable 24-10 home win over Washington football team, NFL's only undefeated team, improving to 7-0 for the first time since 1974. They were outgained 430 to 304 against Washington, 25 first downs compared to 19 for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, 27 to 35 for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. Said his back felt a little stiff. Said it was killing him when he woke up on Sunday. So it felt stiff on Saturday, killing him on Sunday. And he thanked Nate Weir and Mike Zoel, his chiropractor, for getting ready to play. That's if you're going to decide that this is enough points and that Rodgers can make magic happen with anybody, if you believe that, then the back injury is still scary. He'll have Robert Tonyan out there who caught 4 passes for 63 yards. He'll have Cobb out there. They got very little out of their ground game. 15 carries for 57 yards. Jones, 6 carries for 19 yards. A.J. Dillon had 3 carries for 6 yards, fumbled twice, losing 1. Their defense was excellent. Devondre Campbell had 13 tackles. Rashawn Gary, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. As a team, they had 4 sacks and 9 quarterback hits, 6 passes deflected. And they had allowed touchdowns on 15 straight red zone drives coming into Sunday. So they're the first team in at least 40 years that didn't get a single red zone stop in their first 6 games of the season. But they got 4 straight red zone stops against Washington, of course, because I was on Washington. So Josh Myers, their center on their team's on the IR. David Bakhtiari is practicing still. despite being on the reserve PUP list. Kenny Clark listed as questionable. Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander both out for extended periods. Preston Smith, offensive tackle Dennis Kelly, cornerback Kevin King are all listed as questionable. Let's start with the Packers and the elephant in the room, COVID attacking their receivers. Do you think that we're getting to the point where this might be enough points for the Packers to keep it close, or is the COVID issue scaring you?
I don't know. It's COVID combined with everything else. Like, they also have a ton of injuries to begin with. Of course, Jair Alexander's a huge one. Still don't have David Bakhtiari. Kenny Clark's questionable. Like, this is a banged up team that now has COVID. Am I crazy? Like, Arizona is getting the luckiest situations. They play Cleveland when Cleveland has most of their team injured. They play the Niners when Trey Lance is making his NFL debut. George Kittle's out with a number of other big players out. They win on a last-second missed chip shot from Vikings. This is not a 7-0 team, and they're going to win again this week. It's crazy right now. And, yeah, I think it was J.J. Watt who was like, they keep making excuses. Come on, J.J., open your eyes. Shit's happening in your favor. They're still a good football team, but they are not a 7-0 team.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about this team that is riding very high and very confident, coming in off a 31-5 victory at home over the Texans, only undefeated team, and are now 7-0 for the first time since 1974. Kyler Murray, 20-28, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Zach Ertz looked great in his first game as a Cardinal, 3 for 66, 1 touchdown. A.J. Green caught 3 passes for 66 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 7 for 53. Christian Kirk, 4 for 50. They have a lot of offensive weapons. Chase Edmonds ran 15 times for 81 yards. James Conner ran 10 times for 64 yards and a touchdown. The Cardinals' defense didn't get a ton of pressure on Davis Mills, but they didn't have to. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They held Houston just 160 yards of total offense, 8 first downs. So with this short week, we don't know exactly what's going on with their injury report. J.J. Watt's on it with a shoulder. Center Max Garcia with an Achilles tendon. Linebacker Jordan Hicks with a toe. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins with a hamstring. They're all listed, but we don't know the seriousness of their injuries at this point on Tuesday. I mean, it'll come a lot clearer tomorrow. Linebacker Chandler Jones and defensive end Zach Allen are activated from the reserve COVID list. We have a lot of cappers in our chat that got in on the -4, which was great work. Burgundy Bet says, yeah, Birdie, the Packers are 6-0 without Adams. I mean, I would like to take the Packers and Rodgers to keep it close. I mean, one thing we know about Rodgers is he likes being challenged. He likes being challenged. He likes showing off when people don't believe in him or believe in his team. This might be a nice situation for him. I'm not sure exactly how high this number could go. I don't know if there is a 7 waiting for us. Is there anything that interests you from a gambling standpoint? What do you think about this total, and is there anything you want to make a move on? Bebsie?
Hey.
Yeah, is there anything you want to make a move on here in this spot for the Thursday nighter? All right, I don't know. Did we lose you, Bebsie? Are you with us? Okay. I think we may have lost Bebsie here for a sec. Maybe I'll just pull you up. Bebsie, can you hear anything I'm saying right now? Are you
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
So is there anything you want to make a move on here? I know you don't like Thursday nighters, but the Packers at 6.5 right now, and this total is sitting at 50.5.
Well, for starters, I do kind of like the under. Not going to play it. And yeah, if I was going to make a bet, it would be plus 6.5 with the Packers, because I do believe they can keep it close, even with the injuries, even with the number of receivers now on the COVID list. Outside chance that Adams gets off this list before the game. But it's still a no play for me. It was, Thursday night or not, this would probably still be a wait and see for me, like see if this see if this moves, but more see if Devontae Adams is going to play. Like I saw that stat, they're 6-0 without him. I think that's interesting, but that doesn't give me confidence.
J Dub says Rodgers 25-18 against the spread when playing as the underdog. All right. Well, I love that you guys got that -4. I love that you guys got the -4 when it was available. But I think the Packers can't keep it close, and I'm going to sit back and wait at this point to see how high this number is going to go. I do think that Rodgers will keep me close. So that's about my breakdown. I'd like to know that Valdez-Scantling is going to be in the lineup. So I'm going to be as close to my ear to the streets to figure out that stuff. But if Valdez-Scantling is in and Cobb's in, then I think that's enough. And at this point, I don't know how much more it'll move. Burgundy Bet says that's awesome. However, I feel Arizona has too much firepower and to keep Chandler Jones back amongst others. I mean, from that week 1 loss, 38-3 or whatever it was to the Saints, is it possible that if the Packers get down a couple scores or down 17 points, that Rodgers just lets it go, says my back's hurting and let's just get out of here and wait for next week?
Quite possibly. I also think nobody's really been able to exploit the the absence of Jair Alexander so far. But Arizona is going to be able to. Again, like Bertie said, too much firepower. So, you got D-Hop to cover, but then you also have, AJ Green's not what he used to be, but he's still fantastic. I think Christian Kirk, man, I keep thinking this guy's going to be on the verge of blowing up any day now for him. Now they have Zach Ertz, who, like you said, looked great in his first appearance. He's been waiting to get out of Philadelphia. Now he's in Arizona, happy. We might see a resurgence of Zach Ertz now. It's just a lot of firepower for Green Bay to contend with.
It is, and I'm don't need to force anything here. So I will wait. Nuke Walker says wait in his opinion. Al Cervix says Cards get a solo primetime game. They're going to play hard. They're still getting plenty of disrespect. Brady says Murray got the shit kicked out of him last week. He's dealing with a shoulder injury, and he got killed last week versus Houston. Crystal Warren says, I take Arizona now. If you're going to take it, who knows how many more Packers are going to be on the COVID protocol to come Thursday. There's no question about if I do take the Packers, if I'm going to wait till the very last minute. So I'll wait till Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. and make a decision then with all the information in. There's your Thursday nighter, Green Bay Packers at Arizona Cardinals. We move on to Sunday, October 31st, Halloween. We start with 1 p.m. Eastern, Carolina Panthers, 3-4, 1-2 on the road at Atlanta Falcons, 3-3, 1-2 home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see what the market is offering up right now. Atlanta opening up as 2.5-point favorites. That's moved to 3 at most books. There are 2.5s available for Atlanta, but they're heavily juiced, -120 to -125. This total opened up at 47, now dropped to 46. From a cash flow standpoint, 2,761 tickets in. So a very small sample size. This will be up over 70, 80,000 by kickoff at a minimum. And we have 40% of the tickets on Carolina and 67% of the cash, and yet the market's moving towards Atlanta. Then we have 34% of the tickets on the over and 84% of the cash on the over. An otter on the over, by the way, says, miss the line, rather wait. If Adams comes back, then take the Cardinals at a lower number. I don't think it'll ever get to 3.5 otter, but that's a very interesting angle that I didn't think of. Panthers coming off an ugly 25-3 loss at the Giants for their 4th straight loser. Darnold did not look good. 16-25 for 111 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Benched at one point for P.J. Walker, who came in and looked terrible. 3 for 14 for 33 yards. The 3 points and the 173 total yards are team lows here. Team lows under Matt Rule. They were 2 for 15 on third down. DJ Moore caught 6 passes for 73 yards, but Robbie Anderson continues to just do nothing. 3 catches for 14 yards despite being targeted 9 times. Chuba Hubbard did not look good running the ball 12 times for 28 yards. He also caught 4 passes for 28 yards. The defense couldn't get pressure. They got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. C.J. Henderson with a shoulder, John Miller with an ankle left in the second half. Miller did not return and suffered a low ankle sprain. So he's out for 2 to 4 weeks. Henderson listed as questionable. Matt Rule wasn't sure if Stephon Gilmore is going to be in the lineup. Doesn't know if he's going to be healthy enough to make his debut in Week 8. So it doesn't sound like he'll be playing 100% if he is healthy enough. So it's probably going to wait. Safety Justin Burr's dealing with a groin injury. He may not play. And Shaq Thompson, fullback Giovanni Ricci, wide receiver Terrence Marshall, and Cameron Irving were all out of the lineup last week. List is questionable today. Atlanta comes in off a 30-28 win at Miami, which was much more difficult than it had to be. Falcons blew a 13-point fourth-quarter lead. We're trailing with 2:27 left. Matt Ryan, 25 of 40 for 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also lost a fumble at a pivotal juncture. Kyle Pitts looked spectacular. My goodness, 7 catches for 163 yards. Russell Gage, 4 catches for 67 yards. Calvin Ridley made his return after missing the UK game with a personal matter and did not look very good. So it looks like he may be dealing with something. Caught 4 passes for 26 yards, 1 touchdown. Cordero Patterson ran 14 times for 60 yards, clearly moved past Mike Davis in the depth chart. Deion Jones was all over the field, 15 tackles, 3 for a loss, and 1 sack. It was the only sack the Falcons managed. They couldn't get enough pressure on Tua. I mean, Tua's only hit 3 times. Foye Oluokun, 56-yard interception. He looks great out of Yale. What a beast. Jalen Hawkins also had a pick. Safety Eric Harris left in the fourth quarter with a shoulder injury. He's listed as questionable. Dante Fowler was placed on IR before the game. A.J. Terrell hurt his neck. Their cornerback in the game listed as questionable this week. And cornerback Avery Williams was inactive last week, listed as questionable this week. Birdie said there's a spot where we would normally say we bet the Panthers because of last week, but Darnold has lost it. He has no confidence. I like the Falcons. They've won 3 of 4. Burgundy's bet says Kyle Pitts cashing props again. Cash again. He's establishing himself in the offense. Are we going to get a soft number again? Bebsie, take it away here. Is there money to be made in Carolina, Atlanta?
Yeah, and I agree with who did you say just said that about Pitts? Burgundy bets?
Yeah.
I'm going to echo exactly what he said. If you can still get a good number on it, if they give him soft numbers again this week, that's the look in this. I can't back the Carolina Panthers. They're playing awful, and exactly what Birdie said. Sam Darnold has lost his confidence. He gets benched. The only reason he gets back in is because PJ Walker looked worse. The Atlanta Falcons, though, I mean, look, they squeaked by an unrested Miami Dolphins team. Like, they should have destroyed Miami. Like, I thought that was the easiest bet of the week by far. Could not believe how close that game ended up being. So, I'm not laying money with the Atlanta Falcons 2 weeks in a row. That's nuts. I broke a rule doing it last week and was lucky to go 1-1. So for me, there's 2 prop bets I'm looking at in this game. One is Kyle Pitts, and I even think if the number's pretty high, I'm still going to go there because Matt Ryan is really starting to key on him. And I don't know, especially if Stephon Gilmore is not ready to go, I don't know who in Carolina is capable of covering him. And the other look is I will probably take a look at Cordero Patterson's yards total, run and pass. But I think it's a props look for me. I can't confidently back either one of these football teams this week.
I wonder, and I hate saying it, but I wonder if we could step on the throat of the Panthers while they're down. If you heard Arthur Smith talking about Matt Ryan after the game, it was like he was, a Hall of Fame quarterback. And, just this Falcons team is very confident, very comfortable right now. They're coming back home. I feel like this is a spot where we put our foot on the throat of the Panthers. I mean, okay, what are your expectations of Sam Darnold here?
I agree with Birdie. I think he's shook right now. He came out. It's not like he was dominant in their wins. He was playing good football. He was showing glimpses of that, that player, that player we saw in college that everyone thought was going to be amazing. And then, they started losing. He loses Christian McCaffrey, which gives, Christian McCaffrey, a player of his talent, got to give any quarterback some confidence. So they lose him. They lose 3 straight, and then they come into a very winnable game against the Giants and get destroyed. So mentally, is he going to be able to get it right? I don't think so. You got run out of town, with the Jets. And I still say he didn't get any help with the Jets. His career was potentially ruined there. I really hoped he would have a resurgence here in Carolina, but it's almost like he started to get a little bit of swagger, but then he's just that guy. Like, he just comes crashing back down to earth, and I think mentally that's going to be the biggest hurdle for him right now. And I can understand why you'd want to step on them when they're down. I don't think this is a get-right week for them. But I just don't trust the Atlanta Falcons. They've been the most ridiculous team to bet on for years, Jimmy. For years. How long have we been talking about the Atlanta Falcons? And no matter what happens, they're the most unpredictable team in football.
Caveman Bet says feels like a low-scoring kickers game. Start Koo and Gonzalez in fantasy. Is this total vulnerable? I feel like I'm getting these flashbacks of everything that happened to me last week. What did you think about when the chips were down in the fourth quarter that the Dolphins just gashed this Falcons defense? Is Carolina capable of doing that? Or is this 46 here a gift? And if it is a gift, 84% of the cash is on the over, so that makes me – I can't trust this Falcons defense. I think Falcons are the play. I just think Falcons are the play. Brady says new culture. God, I can't believe – so we were on the Falcons full game, and then we added the first half, and thank God we added the Falcons first half. If I had gone 0-1 with them, I just don't know what I would do. I just feel like this has to be a Falcon spot. This has to be – wait for McCaffrey to come back off IR for the Panthers and see if he can do something here. But I think this has to be Falcons, and I'm going to move on them, as difficult as it is for me to say out loud.
Yeah, look, Jimmy, if I was going to make a play, that's the play I would be making. I just, maybe that's a personal thing. I just can't do the Falcons 2 weeks in a row because I know what they're going to do to me. But if I lay off this, you have a chance. You understand?
Well, Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson are the props that you're looking at. I'm going to move on the Falcons. Thank you, Al Cervic. Thank you, my friend. And look, the chips were down for me last week, and I wanted to go against the market in the over in the Sunday nighter. I really wanted to do that in San Francisco. I really felt that was a good look. And then I cashed with the Seahawks +5. So, that's 2 straight. Birdie says Panthers directly, and Watson talks as well. If they were to make a move for Watson, there's no way they would put him in on Sunday. So, Flores wouldn't do that. So I don't need to worry about a boost there. But I do hear what you're saying. All right, let's move on. And Burgundy Bet says Operation Fade Panthers without CMC. Just hate I missed the Falcons, thank you, at 1.5, which was available. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to take a 3, But I really wanted to talk all this out, and that's what I'm doing here. All right, let's move on. Next up, Miami Dolphins. Speak of them, the Fish are 1-6, 1-3 on the road at Buffalo Bills, 4-2, 2-1 at home. We're at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, 54 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 12 miles per hour is the wind. Buffalo opening up as 13.5-point favorites. That's where they stand right now. That 13.5, though, was at +100. It's now -111, so an 11-cent move towards the Bills. This total opened up at 49.5. There's been no movement there either. Let's move over to the cash flow in this spot. 5,611 tickets in. 88% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on the Bills. 33% of the tickets, 84% of cash on the under. Dolphins come in off their 6th straight loss, 30-28 at home to the Falcons. Tagovailoa, 32 of 40 for 291 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In 5 of the last 6 games, the Dolphins have allowed 20 straight points to an opponent. 20 straight points, and that happened in the game against the Falcons. They're up 7-0. Next thing you know, it's 20-7. Gesicki caught 7 passes for 85 yards and a touchdown. Waddle, 7 passes for 83 yards. Ground game was strong for the first time in a while, and that's got to be the Falcons' shortcomings. You have to think that if Myles Gaskin in this Dolphins run game, Dolphins ran 29 times for 132 yards, that maybe we're going to get a low number on Chuba Hubbard. You know, you have to think that if the Dolphins, who can get no running attack against anybody, can get one against the Falcons, you know, why wouldn't we get a low line on Chuba Hubbard? I do not want to bet props, but I'm going to add that in just for my own notes here. All right. So back to the Dolphins here. Gaskin ran 15 times for 67 yards. Dolphins got 1 sack, but 6 quarterback hits. Linebacker Jerome Baker left the game with a knee injury. Doesn't look like it's serious. He is listed as questionable this week. Running back Malcolm Brown, quad, was lost in the first half. He's expected to be put on IR. Safety Jason McCourty left in the second half, and he's expected to be placed on IR. A wide receiver, Will Fuller, finger, isn't expected to return in Buffalo. Guard Michael Dieter, foot, isn't expected to be activated off the injured reserve. Devontae Parker was inactive last week. He's questionable this week. I mean, this is a team that's banged up. Bills come in fresh off their bye week. They were last seen in a 34-31 loss to Tennessee. On Monday night on week 6, that snapped their 4-game winning streak. I like that if you want to bet on a football team. I like when they go into the bye angry. They leading the AFC East comfortably. They drove to the Titans 3 on their final possession. Should have sent or could. I don't know. It depends how you see the game. And I understand what they were trying to do. They could have easily made it into overtime with a field goal. Instead, they went for the win, and they didn't execute. The Bills now have an NFL record of leading at the half in 15 straight games. Their defense came in allowing a league best 12.8 points a game. They gave up a season high in points. Josh Allen, 35 of 47 for 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick. Emmanuel Sanders caught 5 passes for 91 yards. Stephon Diggs, 9 for 89 and a touchdown. Cole Beasley, 7 for 88 and a touchdown. They ran 23 times for 82 yards, led by Devin Singletary, who ran 5 times for 27 yards. It was the worst performance of the season from the Bills' defense. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. After shutting out 2 of its first 4 opponents and allowing a league low 64 points through 5 games, they allowed the Titans to score on each of their final 6 possessions, not including the kneel downs. Since 2019, the Bills have dropped consecutive games twice. Also, very interesting, this side note, on 29 drives inside the red zone, Buffalo scored 16 touchdowns, 12 field goals, and turned the ball over on downs once at the end of the game against Tennessee, of course. Dawson Knox underwent successful surgery to repair his fractured hand. He's going to miss a few weeks. Other than that, it's a healthy group, but Dawson Knox has been a big piece of their offense. Very interesting game here and very curious. It feels like it's a very sharp line when you see no movement on the spreader total. It's at 13.5 and 49.5. Bebsie, take it away. Little AFC East battle, Fish, Bills.
I mean, a big part of me wants to just jump on these Bills. Like you said, going into the bye week angry, playing a Miami team that's now lost 6 straight. They lost one they thought they had a chance to win against the Falcons. But it's still a divisional match. And so 2 touchdowns in a divisional matchup is hard to jump on. I am intrigued by the first half look and maybe even the first quarter look. I just glanced at it. I'm seeing first quarter -4, which is a number I don't love, but first half -7, which is a number I'm a little more intrigued by. I just, and you said 15 straight weeks of leading at the half. That's enticing too. I don't see why it would change here. And I agree. Again, Burgundy bets, lockstep, Mike Gesicki. My fantasy tight ends in most of my leagues are Kyle Pitts and Mike Gesicki. and both of them started out slow, and they're killing it right now. So, another look I plan to examine is the Mike Gesicki props. But of course, as soon as I start betting on these guys, they start shitting the bed. I've been early to the funeral several times this year, Jimmy. But I think if you're going to move on this, given that it's a divisional matchup, I'd be more apprehensive about the full game for Buffalo and lean towards Miami. But first half, I think, is a Buffalo look.
I think that when I see the line and the spread not move an inch, that it's very sharp. And the number of times while you were running through the information, the number of times I flip-flopped in my head about what I really liked in this tells me, extremely sharp line. Brady says Tua has scores on all of his first drives, but the first quarter over is the best look on this card, in my opinion. That's an interesting look. J-Dub says Xavier and Howard will be able to lock down Diggs. This game makes me really uncomfortable. I don't feel confident. I don't want anything to do with the fish. And, if the Bills had come into the bye 5-1 feeling good about themselves, it'd be very different. Very, very different. That's too funny, man. There's Ron Crawford, and that's great to see you, Ron. Okay, so no move for me. Bebsie looking at Gesicki props. J-Dub says Myles Gaskin will have a huge game. Let's move on from here. We get to 1 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco 49ers 2-4, 2-1 on the road at the Chicago Bears 3-4, 2-1 at home. We're at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. 55 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 13 miles per hour is the expected wind. Let's take a look at what we are dealing with in this Niners spot. Niners open up as 2.5-point favorites and no movement. Actually, a 3-cent move towards the Bears. Oh, sorry, that's first half. What am I talking about? My fault. Jesus, I was like, why is it only under a field goal? 3.5 right now, and that 3.5 was at plus money. So there's threes at a regular price. And if you want the Niners minus 3.5, it's at plus 108 at Pinnacle, at plus 104 at Sports Interaction, at plus 105 at William Hill. From a cash side of things, we have just 2,383 tickets in, 54% of the tickets, 64% of the cash on the Niners. Then 60% of tickets on the under, 60% of cash on the under. I can't wait to hear your breakdown of this game, Bebsie. Let me set this up for you. 49ers come in off a very disappointed 30-18 home loss to the Indianapolis Colts. They've now lost 4 straight and haven't won at home in over a year. Garoppolo did not look good. He finished 16-27 for 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also fumbled twice, losing one of them. Deebo Samuel caught 7 passes for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. He was targeted 11 times. What the hell's going on with Brandon Ayuk? 1 pass he caught for 6 yards, and that was the only time he was targeted. Their defense couldn't apply pressure. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Trent Williams was scratched after aggravating an ankle injury in practice last week. Jalen Moore made his first career start in his place. Williams listed as questionable this week. Tart with knee, D Ford with a head injury, and Emmanuel Mosley with a back all left the game with injuries. Tart is expected to miss multiple weeks. D Ford's in concussion protocol, so we don't know what's going on. Also, Aziz Al-Shair is in concussion protocol as well. I'm not sure when that happened, but Mosley's not on the injury report. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst and Javon Kinlaw and Trey Lance were all inactive last week. Listed as questionable this week. Questionable to go this week. The Bears come in off an embarrassing 38-3 loss at Tampa. Fields was 22 of 32 for 184 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks. He added 8 carries for 38 yards. He fumbled 3 times, losing 2 of them. He's now being sacked a league-leading 22 times. Their turnovers were ridiculous. The Bucs scored 4 of their 5 touchdowns on drives that started inside the Bears' territory. Kmet caught 5 passes for 43 yards. The only player who looked okay was Khalil Herbert. ran 18 times for 100 yards, caught 5 passes for 33 yards. They could get no pressure on Brady. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Khalil Mack is playing hurt. He doesn't look good. Akeem Hicks was inactive. He's listed as questionable to go this week. They have linebacker Robert Quinn, linebacker Caleb Johnson, offensive tackle Elijah Wilkinson, and tight end Jimmy Graham all on the COVID list. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. I would like to hear your breakdown on this spot before I say some things that I might have to stick to. Bebsie, take it away. Your take on your Niners and what do you expect in this spot against the Bears?
Honestly, right now, I hardly know what to say. There's so many guys listed as questionable that are big swing players in this game. You asked what's wrong with Brandon Ayuk. There's nothing wrong with Brandon Ayuk. He's getting wide open, and Garoppolo's not even looking his way. That's a Jimmy Garoppolo problem more than anything else. He was wide open for the touchdown. He had a walk-in touchdown on that last play where he threw it to Samuel in triple coverage, and they got another pick. Jimmy Garoppolo is awful. He started out okay against Detroit. He's gotten worse every single week since. Now I think he's playing hurt just because he doesn't want to permanently lose that job, which he's losing anyways. And I really think this locker room is divided. And if you saw Kyle Shanahan's body language, just his entire mood after that presser, he's shook. So I don't have any confidence in the 49ers. I moved quickly on that Jonathan Taylor prop as soon as they announced that Kinlaw and Mo Hurst are out, because those are their two best interior tackles. They're both space eaters. If they're out again, I'd be all over this Herbert prop because they just have nothing inside that can stop the run without those two guys in. And that cashed easily. So I do not have a ton of faith in this 49ers team because I think they're injured, but worse than injured, they're divided. And the Chicago Bears, while they might not be much better, and they do actually have a worse coach, a considerably worse coach, you can't bet them either. So logically, you'd say the Niners should win, but the Niners probably should have won this week, and they looked awful. So I don't know how you can do it with confidence. If you forced me to bet, I'd take the Niners just because they are a better football team if they get some of these players back. But it's every week with them. They've been injured for years. So I don't know if even if they get some of these guys back, they're probably just going to get injured anyways. So how do you do it? I don't know.
I think I do it. Well, first off, Birdie says, why can't the Bears win this game? This line is nuts. No way the Niners are 3.5-point favorites on the road to anyone except the Lions and Jags. Niners won't throw. They struggle running the ball. Bears plus the points. Al Cervic says, the 49ers game looked like an end of an era. This program is done with Jimmy. Just a ticking clock. Motivation becomes a real issue as games go on. Gerald Jones says the under got slammed. Sorry, that's the wrong one up here.
Well, they're right. Like you can't
39.5.
What's that?
The total's at 39.5 in this game, Bebsie.
Well, neither of these teams can prove or have proven they can put up points.
So I guess this is how I see this. So I hear what Bebsie's saying about Kinlaw and Hurst being out. If that's the case, then the Herbert prop makes a ton of sense. I get that. But for me, I need to know what's going on throughout the week with Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks. And I need to know what's going on, even though Robert Quinn has not been very good in a Bears uniform. But Quinn, Johnson, I want to know that they're not on the COVID list and that they're back in action. But Mack and Hicks are the keys here. So that's my plan. My plan is to – and then if I feel like, if Mack says something positive about how he's feeling or Akeem Hicks looks like he's going to be back in the lineup, I will bet the Bears. Now, I guess the problem is that if Akeem Hicks is announced in the lineup or anything like that, then you're not going to get a 3 or a 3.5. And I guess that's a problem. I guess that's the problem. And another thing that I thought that Justin Fields said all the right things. Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts seem to say all the right things in losses, which is a good sign, I guess. But they're getting lots of opportunities to say those things. Dennis Farsi says the Bears have won these types of games, but I need to know about these injuries as well. Al Silver says, I'm with you, Brady. I just can't back Chi-Town either. I think Fields is shook right now, but I get it. It's Bears for me. I wouldn't back Jimmy G again. Harold Williams staying away. Ron Crawford says ugly game. Nuke Worker says a complete pass from me. And Jay says, what's a good site to find how many snaps a player has played? There's a few different sites. Let me put a list together. But if anybody in the chat can help Jay, please do. Okay, let's move on from that spot. So at this point, Bebsie says a Herbert prop if Kinlaw and Hurst are out, and I have interest. I have interest in the Bears. Quickly, Bebsie, if you can, what's happened to this 49ers defense? I know that, we talk about Hurst and Kinlaw being out and how they're the run stoppers, and if you can start running and then you open up the whole defense. But if they had signed Buckner for a ton of cash, what would you have done differently for this 49ers defense that a couple years ago looked like a monster?
Look, there's been so much scrutiny over the Buckner move. It was simple. He wanted more money than they had. It was either trade Buckner for a first round 13th overall pick, or maybe try and trade Armstead for like a 4th round pick. Like it was the right move at the time. It did not pan out for them, but it was the right move. You can always say in hindsight, oh yeah, I'd like to get him. That's crazy. Why'd they get rid of Buckner? But the point is, Buckner was commanding a big sum of money that they didn't have, and frankly, he was the only one that they could trade to get draft capital. So, look, if Kinlaw didn't have knee injuries right now, and he wasn't constantly hampered by that knee, which he is, and the team doctors probably should have caught that, and they probably should have stayed the hell away from him. But if he was playing great football, you wouldn't be talking as much about that. And a big problem is this Niners defense isn't that bad. They're the only team that's held Arizona to under 31 points, and they held them to 17. They hemmed that team in. The biggest problem with this defense is their own offense. Their own offense is like 2 for a million on 3rd down. They can't stay on the field. They can't sustain a drive. So this defense just gets tired. I don't really blame the defense right now. These losses are on Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. And Mike McGlinchey. He can't block to save his life.
Al Cervic likes the punt prop that Birdie pitched to us a little while ago. Burgundy Bet says there's something in the water in San Francisco year after year, always injured. If Buckner stayed, he'd be injured too, says Burgundy Bet. All right, let's move on from that spot. We move on to beauty. God, there are angles in this game. 1 p.m. Eastern, Pittsburgh Steelers 3-3, 1-1 on the road at Cleveland Browns, 4-3, 3-1 at home. We're at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. 56 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 14 miles per hour is the wind. We have Pittsburgh opening up as 3-point dogs. They're 3.5-point dogs now, moving towards Cleveland. This total opened up at 43.5, now at 42.5. Dan Kelly said, back these Browns because their offensive line is healthy. And when their offensive line is healthy, big things can happen. We just saw D'Ernest Johnson go for 140 some odd yards. Let's take a look at where the cash goes. And here it is, 4,047 tickets in. 70% of the tickets on the Browns, 84% of cash on the Browns. We don't have the money numbers for the total at this point, so not enough tickets in, but 62% of tickets are on the under. Viper MB says the total's gone under in 6 of Cleveland's last 8 games when playing at home against Pittsburgh. Gerald Jones says offense isn't effective enough now. Too much pressure on the defense. Steelers come in fresh off their bye week. We last saw them in their second straight game in an underwhelming win their second straight game, an underwhelming 23-20 overtime victory at home over the Seahawks. Big Ben goes 29-40 for 229 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Also lost a fumble. Deontay Johnson led a wounded receiving corps with 9 catches for 71 yards. Najee Harris ran 24 times for 81 yards, caught 6 passes for 46 yards. Their defense got a lot of pressure, sacking Geno Smith 5 times, hitting him 8 times. But this defense that led the NFL in sacks and turnovers forced in 2020 seems very average. TJ Watt's a monster. Don't get me wrong. 7 tackles, 3 for losses, 2 sacks, 1 a game-clinching strip sack, 3 passes deflected. But they have issues. The team has a ton of issues. We'll start with the offensive line. Zach Branner's return from the torn ACL in his right knee suffered in 2020 season opener is imminent, and they need him. His return to the lineup would allow Okorafor to move back to left tackle, would send Dan Moore Jr. to the bench, and the line would all immediately have more size and experience for Big Ben. The Steelers have given up 127 yards rushing per game over the past 3 weeks. Opponents have overpowered this defensive front that's playing without Tyson Alualu, who's gone for the year. They're still waiting on Stephon Tuitt to make it back to practice after undergoing knee surgery. Tomlin says he'll come back at some point, but he wouldn't give a timetable. Browns come in off extra rest and prep after an ugly but important 17-14 win at home over Denver on Thursday night. Baker Mayfield didn't practice Monday, and I don't have any info, but it's starting to feel for me like he's not going to be under center this week. But you would have to think that with this market move that there's a thought that he will. I don't know if anybody has any inside information that I don't. Case Keenum, 21-33 for 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Austin Hooper caught 2 for 42. Jarvis Landry returned with 5 catches for 37 yards. With Chubb and Kareem Hunt out, Dearness Johnson was excellent. 22 carries for 146 yards, a touchdown. Caught 2 passes for 22 yards. Caught 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Donovan Peoples-Jones suffered a groin injury in pregame warm-ups and didn't play. Denzel Ward injured his left hamstring in the fourth quarter. That hurts. They're also already missing right tackle Jack Conklin, who missed his second straight game with a knee injury. All those guys are listed as questionable. So Conklin was inactive. Cornerback A.J. Green inactive, listed as questionable. Very interesting spot here, Bebsie. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites, and this total is 42.5. Take it away.
I like the Browns here. I really do. I do think that offensive line getting healthy again is big. I honestly don't care if Mayfield plays or not. I don't think it's a big move up or down. I don't have a ton of faith in this Pittsburgh team, and a lot of it has to do with Big Ben. A lot of it has to do with some of these missing pieces. Like Tuitt and Alualua. I just don't know if they have the swagger that they used to. Tomlin's fielding questions like, "Are you going to take coaching vacancies in college?" I'm going to agree with what Al Cervic is saying here. I don't think I don't think Big Ben, or Old Ben, as he put it, is any better than Case Keenum. And also, listen, Case Keenum, remember, he's in the Stefanski offense that he ran quite well in Minnesota. So I have faith in him, and I'm going to move on Cleveland here. I'm going to move on Cleveland first half and full game. And, I think this Cleveland Browns need this W more. Obviously they both need it. I just think they're capable of getting it. And this is a team that's had some injury woes early on that's kind of crushed, and not crushed, but that's sort of put a dent in their playoff hopes right now. And they're obviously still in a perfect position to make the playoffs, but I just think all the motivation is for Cleveland at home here. And also, this is a team that for years got bullied by Pittsburgh, and that's not the case anymore. They've had some convincing wins against them, so that's off their back, and they can focus on this game. I think the Browns are going to roll here.
Wow, Browns roll. So you can get the -2.5 in the first half, -115 available at Pinnacle, and Full game minus 3.5, minus 105. Also at Pinnacle. Wow. Very, 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 very interesting breakdown to be that confident on one side. New Quarter says, don't understand how you can say that Mayfield doesn't matter.
It's because I don't think Keenum's that bad in Stefanski's offense. And really, Baker Mayfield plays well when everything goes perfectly, and he plays poorly when everything doesn't. So I think the rest of he gets lifted by the rest of the Browns as opposed to the rest of the Browns getting lifted by him, if that clarifies my thoughts at all.
No, it does. It does. I find that I'm going to need to take more time in this spot because we know what the Browns did to the Steelers last year in the playoffs. It was, just so embarrassing. And Steelers are coming in off a bye. And if the Steelers want to do anything this year, they have to be able to beat the Browns with Case Keenum at quarterback. Not saying that I'm going to be on the Steelers, but I'm going to need a little bit more time on this. Al Survey says Keenum is tougher on scrambles too. There's no doubt about that when you got the non-throwing shoulder so messed up for Baker. Very interesting. So Bebsie's on the board with the Browns double up. First half minus 2.5, minus 115. Full game minus 3.5 and minus 105. Both available at Pinnacle. Move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia Eagles 2-5, 2-2 on the road at Detroit Lions. 0-7, 0-3 at home. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. We have Detroit. Oh, that's first half. Sorry, let me move over the full game quickly here. We have Detroit opening up as 3-point dogs. That's moved to 3.5 at both Will Hill, Bet365, and Sports Interaction. The total is sitting at 47.5 or 48. It opened at 48.5, so a slight move towards the under. From a cash flow side of things, we have 3,379 tickets in. 46% of the tickets on Philadelphia, 69% of the cash. Then we have 48% of tickets on the over and 98% of cash, which is wild. Absolutely wild. Eagles come in off an ugly 33-22 loss at Las Vegas. They're now 2-5, losers of 2 straight and 5 of their last 6. After opening with a score and leading 7-0 at the end of 1, they were outscored 30-0 over the second and third quarters. Jalen Hurts, 18-34 for 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also ran 13 times for 61 yards, and he lost a fumble. Dallas Goedert's first game without teammate Zach Ertz, guy he looked up to. He caught 33 passes for 70 yards. Devontae Smith caught 5 passes for 61 yards. As a team, the Eagles ran 32 times for 135 yards. Another game in which the Eagles could apply no pressure, getting 0 sacks and just 2 quarterback hits. The defense allowed Las Vegas to score on 5 straight possessions after its first series ended. Miles Sanders limped off late in the first quarter, barely able to put pressure on his right leg. He did not return. He's now week to week with a high ankle sprain. Arcega-Whiteside was hurt in the third quarter with a back injury. And Sirianni said Lane Johnson left Sunday's game early because he got stepped on, so he's listed as questionable. Safety Anthony Harris and Jack Anderson, their guard, also listed as questionable. Detroit comes in off a 28-19 loss on Jared Goff's return to L.A. against the Rams. I wonder if, and I'm trying to just taking a quick look to Birdie, see if I wonder if Detroit is coming off a very emotional football game where they laid it all out on the line, and now they come home in a vulnerable spot.
I'm feeling that, Jimmy. Like a lot of guys talked about in the chat, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. I made fun of the idea that this was Detroit's Super Bowl. Well, I didn't make fun of that. I just made fun of the fact that it didn't matter. But they came out hard in that game. They did. They came out. They looked good early on, and they were pulling out trick plays and fake punts and stuff. Like they wanted that game. And they just got outclassed. They did. They did. But you're right, Jimmy. It's a tough loss. They laid a lot out of there. But I still think Sorry, finish. I cut you off.
No, I love it. I do anytime. I love it. Ron Crawford has Philadelphia as a spreadsheet play. I wonder if Ron Crawford will make it a spreadsheet play of the day. Birdie says Lions did all they could to win last week, and they covered. They did. And Gerald Jones says Detroit's got the bye next week, goes all in this week. Harold Williams says Lions could win this game. I heavy 08s on Lions +3. Let's go. I have a feeling, and this is sort of just coming to fruition now in my thoughts, that Detroit is coming off a very emotional game. And the fact that this is a moving so quickly in Philadelphia's favor makes me think that there has to be sharp money believing that they took their shot and they're going to come back without as much energy in this spot, and that the public is going to be all over Detroit after watching what they did last week. We have 54% of the tickets on Detroit, but 31% of the cash. And those of you who are on Detroit, I get it. I get it from a psychological, subconscious standpoint. You have this team going all out to trying to get wins. You have their coach crying in post-game pressers. You have them getting horribly unlucky on very unlikely field goals. You have all these emotions when Goff goes back to LA and they play hard. This team plays hard for Dan Campbell. So I can understand why your subconscious would say, and look, Detroit could win this game, and I'm not saying they can't, but I can understand why one subconscious would say, oh, Detroit's live here, Detroit's live. When maybe this is just a shit football team.
I think, look, I'm going to back up exactly what you're saying here, Jimmy. I think that's emotion. That's fans' emotion looking at what's happening with this team, and they're buying in. But at the end of the day, like they still don't have a lot of good players on this team, and they still have a bunch of injuries to important players that they need. They want. It's not, you can't even call it a Cinderella story because, unless they win out, they're not even sniffing the playoffs, and that's not going to happen. So there's no Cinderella story happening here. This is just a not very good team that does seemingly play really hard and make some games interesting that shouldn't be interesting. And look, came out hot against this Rams team. So yeah, of course you're like, hey man, this team's getting it together, but I agree with the idea that they're going to come out flat against an Eagles team that's frankly better than them. There's, I don't think that they're going into the bye, and we'll be saying the same thing after the bye. We'll be like, oh, they had a bye week. Dan Campbell fired them up. They got a shot to win this week, or at least cover the spread. I don't see it.
This is interesting. And Newkirk says, but what do the Eagles have? And look, I get it. I get it. Let's just hammer the Lions a little bit more here. Goff has never won an NFL start without McVay as his head coach. He's 0-14. Khalif Raymond looked good. Caught 6 passes for 115 yards. TJ Hawkinson. Everybody defending this Lions squad knows that you have to keep that Hawkinson's DeAndre Swift is a very real weapon. But Hawkinson, 6 passes for 48 yards. Swift ran 13 times for 40 yards, caught 8 passes for 96 yards and 1 touchdown. Jamal Williams ran 12 times for 57 yards. But the Lions could get no pressure on Stafford. They sack him once. They only hit him once. Siebert kicked 4 field goals. Look at what the special teams did for the Lions. They kicked 4 field goals. They recover an early onside kick. They run 2 successful fake punts. They put it all out on the line. Trey Flowers injures his knee in the second half. This is questionable this week. A.J. Parker, a DB, injured his shoulder in the second half. He's doubtful. Their guard, Logan Stenberg, was placed on IR. They already lost Frank Ragnow. Now they're going to lose Logan Stenberg. So with Miles Sanders not in the lineup, you got
Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell.
His name is Gainwell. Come on.
I think that as a fan, we want with Detroit showing all his heart to win, and that the gambler should take advantage of that. But the fact that this has gone to 3.5 for me hurts. Hurts that it took me this long to think about it and figure it out. If I wanted to get the 3, and I'm certainly not going to do this under any circumstances, minus 138. Fuck, maybe I just missed this. Maybe I just got to let this shit go. I can't get the 3.5. You can though, Bebsie, if you want it.
Yeah, I'm still seeing 3. I'm still seeing a 3 at Pinnacle here.
Yeah.
Which I am going to move on.
I get it. I should have figured this out earlier, but all these sports, all this work, it just takes a little time for it to sink in. Eagles minus 3 for Bebsie at minus 121. And I'll be keeping a close eye on this, but I just can't take that 3.5, I don't think.
I'm also very intrigued by this over, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think either team has a particularly strong defense. Now, I don't think either team has a particularly strong offense, but if you want to talk about the bright spots of Detroit right now, it's Hawkinson and Swift. And, Penei Sewell, I believe, will be a premier left tackle. So, there's something going on there. They've got 3 potential blue chip players on this offense. They still have Jared Goff. But and then on the other side, the Eagles offense, they have Devonta Smith. They've got, Jalen Hurts, who's, I think, again, I'm going to defend him in that he is still technically a rookie. He has not played a full 16 games or 17 games now. But you see great things from him. You see bonehead things from him. But I just don't see either one of these defenses putting up much of a fight. So I also really like this over. Am I crazy to like this over? Can we hear from the chat a bit on this?
I think it's a very interesting take that I hadn't thought of, but I think you're right. And from a market standpoint, now we have a very small amount of tickets in, but the early action, generally sharper action, at this point, 48% of tickets are on the over and 98% of cash. This means huge bets have come in on the over and it's dropped. Yeah, I see points in this game. Why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there be, especially with the way the Detroit defense looks, for one, and DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I mean, you have so many options for Goff. That's why Goff's looked pretty good this year. And then you have to think that the Eagles will be able to put up their own. Alvin Smith over all day. Al Cervic says over. Viper says total's gone over in 5 of Detroit's last 5 games when playing Philadelphia. And Harold Williams says sneaky good idea over, but I don't know, says Harold Williams. Al Cervic says both teams absolutely going for broke. That's another huge part, that if the Eagles want to have anything to do this year, they have to come out of this 3-5. Burgundy Bet says don't take the 3. I would never make a bet with minus 138 juice. I would never, unless I was, going down to Vegas saying I'm gonna, put $5,000 on this to pay for everything, pay for the trip, pay for the flights, pay for everything. Then maybe the juice isn't as important. But for a regular spot, okay. I'm
moving on this over. When my man Alvin Smith and Al Cervic come in, they're the first 2 guys commenting and agreeing with that look. That's a good sign. I like those guys. I'm gonna jump on this over, Jimmy.
I'm gonna line shop for you right now. Alvin Smith says love public on the Eagles. I'm on Detroit. Let me reiterate that the public is not on Philadelphia. So we have 3,391 tickets in, and 54% of the tickets are on the Lions, and I expect that to only go up.
Emotions.
But 31% of the cash is on the Lions. That's the big bets are coming on the Eagles. Okay, so I like it. I think this makes sense here, and I wonder what we can get. Let's line shop for Bebsie right now here. We are going to be able to get you on the total here. We have over 47.5 at -110 available at Sports Interaction. We'll give you that. So, and I think I want in on this. Over 47.5 -110. So that's a Pinnacle first one. And then this is Sports Interaction. All right, I think I want in. So the over, oops, wrong button, sorry. The over 47.5 or 48. And I do not expect this to keep going down.
You know what? Maybe it's the IPAs talking. But I'm starting to feel real fucking good about this card.
All right, there you go, Bebsie.
I'm starting to feel real good. I came in not feeling too good. I'm feeling pretty good about it right now.
Harold Williams says it goes down to 47.5 by Sunday. It's at 47.5 a couple books. I don't know if it does right now because all the early cash is on the over. I'm interested. I'm not going to take the Eagles with 3.5. But it wouldn't shock me if the 3 became available at some point. So I'm just going to keep my eye out. All right, let's move on. Burgundy Bet says all my available books only have a 48.5. Interesting. Let me just do a double check here to make sure that I have the smaller than that. Yeah, the 47.5 or 48. 47.5 of Sports Interaction, 48 at Bet 365. And 5-0 says Ron Crawford and Braves. I don't know why I got talked off of the first 5 over. Ridiculous. Okay, let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Tennessee Titans at Indianapolis Colts. Titans 5-2, 2-1 on the road. Colts 3-4, 1-2 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Crystal Warren saying Duval homer prop. The game is beautiful. Great job, Crystal Warren. Great jobs. And Birdie says books have been getting smashed. Sharps have been getting smashed. This is going to change soon. We've seen that the public has been very successful in the last, 4 weeks at least. Could be 5, but 4 weeks for sure. Okay, let's start with the market here. Bebsie in this cold spot. Tennessee opening up at -1. There is a 1.5 on the board now, and this total is climbing quickly. Open at 48.5, now all the way up to 51.5 at Pinnacle. The rest of the books are at 51, but you can imagine that they're going to follow Pinnacle's lead and add that hook. Titan. Oh, let's take a look at where the cash is. My fault here. 4,678 tickets in. Only 20% of tickets on the Colts, 33% of cash. Then 56% of tickets on the under, 99% cash on the under. So that's confusing with it going up 3.5 points. I guess the idea would be that once it got up to 51 or 51.5, there was a big bet placed on the under. But the fact that Pinnacle is pushing it to 51.5 is confusing. Titans coming off an extremely impressive 27-3 home win over the Chiefs. Scored on their first 5 possessions, led 27-0 at the half. They also won their second game in 6 days over teams that played for the AFC Championship in January. Tannehill, 21-27 for 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. A.J. Brown caught 8 passes for 133 yards, 1 touchdown. First 100-yard receiving game this season, and he had it all by a halftime. 2020 Pro Bowler, caught 6 passes for 101 yards and a touchdown, and finished at the half, finished with 8 for 133. Derrick Henry ran 29 times for 86 yards, threw a 5-yard touchdown. This Titan defense had Mahomes under pressure all day. Finished with 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Taylor Lewan was out with a concussion. Didn't matter. Kendall Lamb, though, started in Lewan's place. Hurt his ankle in the first half, didn't return. So he was replaced by Bobby Hart, who was signed Wednesday off of Buffalo's practice squad. And they didn't skip a beat, man. Well, they stopped producing any offense in the second half, but that's not all on Bobby Hart. But that should be something looked into. Anybody betting this game. So is Lewin going to be back? Is Kendall Lamb, his backup, going to be there? And if not, is Bobby Hart going to start on the offensive line? Linebacker Monty Ross, Lewin, and wide receiver Chester Rogers were all inactive and are listed as questionable. Colts are heating up. Coming off their third win in 4 games, 30-18 victory in San Francisco. Wentz goes 17-26 for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 4 times for 23 yards, but fumbled once. Michael Pittman caught 4 passes for 105 yards, and they needed him. He looked good, and they needed him to look good. T.Y. Hilton was inactive. Paris Campbell will be out 2 or 3 months. Just had foot surgery. Jonathan Taylor ran 18 times for 107 yards and 1 touchdown. Bebsie was on him. They still need to apply more pressure. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Cornerback Bo Pete Keys, hamstring left in the first half, didn't return. Safety Julian Blackman was placed on IR right before the game. The day before, I should say. Cornerback Rock Yassin, offensive tackle Braden Smith, defensive end Kamoko Toure were all inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. I imagine that Sharps are going to be on the Colts and the public is going to be on the Titans. Bebsie, take it away. Interesting spot.
Well, first and foremost, I got to say, the Colts, and especially Carson Wentz, did not play a good game. Jonathan Taylor played a great game. Jonathan Taylor looked fantastic. But again, the reason I jumped on him was the space eaters in the middle for the Niners were both out. Carson Wentz, he threw a couple picks, but he also threw 4 other dropped picks. And if this Niners team was in such a mess right now, they should have dominated this team. Now you got the Tennessee Titans coming in. They're a much better team than San Francisco is right now. And they've got a much better running game. San Francisco's rookie, Elijah Mitchell, was gashing this Colts defense until they abandoned the run. He still had the exact same line as Jonathan Taylor, but I think he had 57 yards in the first 2 possessions. So if they can't stop this broken down San Francisco rushing attack, how are they going to stop Derrick Henry? How? Most teams can't stop Derrick Henry. So I'm going to be looking at Derrick Henry's rush props because normally I don't. Normally they're so high and I'm just like, I'm going to stay away from that. But this one, if it's a reasonable number, I'm going to jump on it because I understand it's a divisional game. And I understand it's a very important divisional game. This is a big swing game in the division right now. But I haven't seen a ton of great football from the Colts. And I've seen Tennessee rout the Chiefs. And I've seen them, beat the Bills in pretty exciting fashion. So I understand it's a divisional game. I understand that the popular look from the Sharps is going to be the Colts and that the public is going to be on the Titans. But I think the public is right with this one. They're just too good. And I don't think Indy can stop Derrick Henry. And even if they can, they got options. They got A.J. Brown. They got, I don't know, Julio's in, Julio's out. Is Julio fine?
I will double check Julio's status here right now. But this is going to be a very fascinating game where it will be the public against the Sharps. And I don't know what to do here. He's ready to go, Julio. Supposedly. Let me just do one more. Yeah, ready to go. Good to go. Very, very, very interesting. Birdie saying Flames 5-1. Birdie, I thought that my breakdown was so bang on, so why didn't I take the Flames, man? I mean, I'm not on the Devils, but the breakdown was so fucking salient, and I'm sitting here watching other people cash on the Flames and sitting here on the outside. But Tampa Bay Lightning are up 3-0. That was a great bet by us. All right, Bernie Bet says, fellas, this line open Titans +1. If you like the Titans, don't wait. Do you want to make a move on the Titans, Bebsie?
I don't know. I'm going to think about this one for right now. There's a lot of people I respect trying to talk me off of this, but
Benjamin says take the over. What are your feelings about this total? Opened up at 48.5 and it skyrocketed up to 51.5 at Pinnacle.
I agree. If I was going to make a play on this, it would be the over. again, I don't see either one of these defenses being particularly effective. Again, the Colts held the Niners down, but that's not saying much. The Niners offense hasn't gotten going all year, and that I'm surprised there were as many points as they were given that torrential downpour. So yeah, I don't. Again, this is another game where I don't think either defense is going to be able to slow down the other one's offense particularly well.
See, the way I saw that game from a total standpoint, that the rain can help offense because there's going to be fumbles, there could be field possession, great field possession spots. If there's not a ton of wind, then there's points are going to be scored, and there wasn't a ton of wind. That wind advisory was done by 8.
They say heavy rain is harder on a secondary than it is on the receivers because, of course, the receiver knows where they're going. But I just saw a lot of wounded ducks go up from both quarterbacks. Worse ones from Jimmy. Although, what the fuck was Wentz doing when he pitched it to Alshire? That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. That might be the worst thing I've seen since the butt fumble. That was terrible.
When that happened, I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to hit the over." I thought that was just a sign that I wasn't going to hit the over, but it was a pretty easy casher. Okay, let's move on. No move for either of us, but Bebsie looking at Derrick Henry props. I find that game fascinating. Let's move on to Cincinnati Bengals at New York Jets, MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 62 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. And for me in the survivor pool, I have to decide between the Jets or the Chiefs. And I know a lot of people have a rule about not taking road teams in survivor pools. I'll have to make that decision, and I got some time to make it. But Bengals 5-2, 3-1 on the road. Jets 1-5, 1-1 at home. We're at MetLife. 62 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. The Bengals opened up as 8.5-point favorites. That quickly shoots up to 10.5-point favorites. This total opens up at 44. It's now sitting at 43. Bengals come in off a big 41-17 win at Baltimore. Joe Burrow, 23 of 38, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamar Chase was spectacular, 8 catches for 201 yards and a touchdown. Broke Speedy Thomas's franchise rookie record of 177 yards receiving, set in 1969 in Denver. Chase now has 754 yards receiving, the most for a player through the first 7 games of his career since the AFL-NFL merger. CJ Uzoma is a beast. 3 passes he caught for 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins caught 7 passes for 82 yards. Joe Mixon ran 12 times for 59 yards, 1 touchdown. When the game was out of reach, they put in Samaji Perine, who ran 11 times for 52 yards to keep Joe Mixon healthy. Sam Hubbard was a monster. 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass deflected, 3 quarterback hits. Bengals got 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Cornerback Trey Waynes was put on IR before the game, but this is a real healthy Bengals squad. Jets come in off an ugly 54-13 loss that saw them lose starting quarterback and second overall pick Zach Wilson to a knee injury with 12:31 remaining in the second quarter. And they got lucky, sprained PCL. Looks like he'll miss 2 to 4 weeks. 26-year-old Mike White, 5th-round pick by the Cowboys in the 2018 draft out of Western Kentucky, comes in, and he looks okay. 20 of 32 for 202 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. All of the receptions were going to running backs, which I know the Bengals defensive coordinator is talking about as we speak. Michael Carter ran 11 times for 37 yards, caught 8 passes for 67 yards, also lost a fumble. Ty Johnson ran 5 times for 6 yards, caught 6 passes for 65 yards. Corey Davis led the wideouts with 4 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. This Jets defense looked helpless against the Pats. Pats offense gained the season-high 551 yards. The 54 points are the most allowed by the Jets since October 29th, 1978. 4th most points ever allowed by the New York Jets. They managed 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. Linebacker Jamie Sherwood, running back Ty Johnson, linebacker Quincy Williams were all evaluated for concussions. Johnson and Sherwood passed, but then Sherwood left again with a calf injury. Blake Cashman also left with a groin injury. This is the status right now. You got Tevin Coleman, didn't play last week, questionable. Tyler Kroft didn't play last week, questionable. CJ Mosley, same deal. Blake Cashman and Jamie Sherwood have been put on the injured reserve. Quincy Williams is in concussion protocol, still may play. So is Ty Johnson. Bebsie, Bengals, Jets, take it away.
Well, I didn't bet this last week, but I do still want to admit that I was completely dead wrong about the Bengals going into Baltimore. I like the Bengals, and I like what they've been doing, and I've wanted to believe in the Bengals, and I said they're not going to beat a vet coach team in Baltimore, and they trounced Baltimore. So I'm worried about a little bit of karma here, because I cannot see why you wouldn't bet Cincinnati first half and full game. It's not a crazy spread for a team that is so much better than their opponent. This Cincinnati Bengals team is playing well. And they're super talented. There is a lot of young talent on this team, and they're really starting to believe in themselves. And the Jets are a bad injured team. They're injured and bad. That is a horrible way to go into any week. And I like Robert Saleh. And I want him to do well. And I don't think losing their starting quarterback is a big deal, because Zach Wilson is playing fine for a rookie, but he's not a great starter yet. So this isn't a big loss for them. I'm just looking at a team that is rolling and looking to assert their dominance and looking to take over this division. And I see a New York Jets team that, is going to be a top 3 pick again. They're going to be right up there with the Jags and the Lions, scouting. Fortunately, they don't have to take another quarterback, but they're going to be looking at any of these prestige players coming out of it. This has to be a Cincinnati smash.
Could Flacco possibly start this week, or is it fair to think that he'll come in, practice once, and play the week after?
I don't think that matters. We saw Flacco come in last year. What's Joe Flacco going to do? How is Joe Flacco turning the tides?
I think I'm just talking from a total perspective, because I know what Flacco's going to do. I don't know. I would like to bet the under in this game.
Okay.
And I would like to bet the team total under. And with Mike White, I don't know if he's going to try and be Superman out there and try to make some big plays and have pick sixes and things of that nature, where I know that Flacco will stay conservative. That's my thinking there.
Yeah, I get it. And I think, given the fact that, Flacco doesn't know this offense per se, but he knows these players, he could come in and start, but I don't know. Like you said, Mike White didn't play bad.
No.
So is Flacco insurance? If I'm the Jets, I wouldn't want to move away from White, because he didn't play bad, and he doesn't deserve to not play. And maybe, I'm not saying they're going to find some hidden gem that can turn this franchise around in Mike White, but I think Flacco's more insurance than anything here.
I think you're probably right. Ron Crawford, by the way, the spreadsheet play that's sitting at 30-12 is on the Jets. Caveman Bet says Flacco will come in at halftime. Alvin Smith and Birdie are sort of more on my page. Alvin Smith says stay away game. Don't want Cincinnati after that big game last week at the Ravens. And Birdie says the last statement win the Bengals got, they almost lost to the Jags next week. I'm staying off this game. New Quicker says Flacco won't play. I said I would be surprised. So I think with this, what do you think of this Jets team total at 15.5? It's juiced to the over. Are you interested? Do you find that surprising that it's juiced to the over?
Yeah,
The
I suppose so.
Bengals team total is juiced to the under. Under 27.5 is minus 125.
Well, I guess I mean, is everyone thinking letdown spot for Cincinnati here? Like,
Yeah.
they're rolling. They come up against the Jets. They don't take them seriously.
Yeah. That's exactly what people are thinking.
I'm gonna pass on this game, and I'm gonna hate myself come Sunday for passing on it.
Well, 6,935 tickets are in. They're saying with 82% confidence that the Bengals will go to minus 10.5. We've already seen that at most books. And 38% of tickets are on the under, but 55% of cash is on the under, and it's moved to 43 or 43.5. This is one of those games where I like the under. J-Dub says the Bengals have the Browns next week. That's a huge game for them. This is a under look for me. So looks like I'm going to add this to my card now. By the way, that ticket standpoint here, you got 38% of the tickets on the under, 55% of the cash, 6,935 tickets, and 94% of the tickets, 93% cash on the Bengals. I'm looking at this under 43, and very quiet second half. I'm hoping where the Jets aren't, where the Bengals aren't pressed and want to just get out healthy, and want Mixon to be healthy. And Samaje Perine, didn't look bad. Okay, let's move on. Bebsie, nothing for you there?
No, I'm gonna. My good friends in the chat have talked me off that one.
Let's go to 1 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Rams 6-1, 3-0 on the road to Houston Texans 1-6, 1-2 at home at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. We'll start with the market. Rams open up as 14.5-point favorites. There's been a 3-cent move to the Texans. This total opened up at 46. There's now 47.5s and 48s. When we go to the cash in this spot, we have 4,829 tickets in. 15% of tickets are on Houston, and 44% of cash is on Houston. Then 73% of tickets on the under, and 98% of cash is on the under. And remember, we're dealing with about 7 or 8% of the tickets that will be in come game time. Rams come in off a 28-19 home victory over the Lions in Stafford's first game against the former team. He was 28-41 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Cooper Kupp continues his spectacular season. 10 catches for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the first player in the Super Bowl era to record more than 800 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns in his first 7 games. Robert Woods caught 6 passes for 70 yards. Tyler Higbee caught 5 passes for 46 yards. They weren't able to dial up a lot of pressure as they got just 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. They picked off Goff twice. Jalen Ramsey got 1, Knicks got the other. Rams rookie cornerback Robert Rochelle injured his knee in the first half. He's listed as questionable. Safety Jordan Fuller and offensive tackle Andrew Whitworth were both inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. Texans come in off a 31-5 loss to Arizona, and that was the one bet where I beat myself up the most because I thought that Arizona was going to come in sloppy, fat, and happy. And I watched Jacksonville Zoe give the Arizona team total under 33.5. Instead, I took the Texans' first half plus 10.5 at plus 105. The Texans were up 5-0 after the first quarter. If I'm going to deal with a team that's a 20.5-point dog, why not just take the first quarter? I don't understand why I moved it to the first half. And I'm still pretty angry about it. The Texans, once again, didn't score a touchdown. That's the third time in 4 weeks they haven't got a touchdown. Davis Mills is 0-5 as the team starting quarterback. Tyrod Taylor is expected to return to practice this week. He is expected to play. So the Cardinals scored 31 unanswered points. Texans finished with just 160 yards of offense and 8 first downs. And we remember how good these Texans looked with Tyrod under center. Davis Mills was 23 of 32 for 135 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. He also lost a fumble. Nico Collins led receivers with 2 catches for 28 yards. Brandon Cooks had 5 catches for 21 yards. They could get nothing out of their ground attack, 15 carries for 42 yards. David Johnson ran 7 times for 25 yards, also caught 5 passes for 27 yards. The defense, though, managed 4 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss. I thought the defense looked pretty good. Lonnie Johnson had 9 tackles and 1 pick. Christian Kirksey fractured his thumb during the game. He actually could still play. And defensive tackle Jaleel Johnson is listed as questionable. Here we go. Bebsie, Rams, Texans, Rams, 14.5-point favorites. His total sitting at 47.5. Take it away.
I don't know. It's such a big spread. And it's almost like they're begging you to take the Texans. But the Rams are more than capable of smashing this team into oblivion. I think that Tyrod Taylor being in will be a bit of a lift. I think everyone on earth but coaches like Tyrod Taylor. And I feel bad for this guy. Like, this guy has had shit luck everywhere he goes. He either doesn't get a fair shake or he gets some weird fluke injury where he's stabbed in the lung by a needle and then loses his job to a future phenom. I feel so bad for Tyrod. I hope he can come in and play this game. And to be honest with you, the Rams are one of these teams that, like, look, they're 6-1. They're obviously a consistent football team with Super Bowl aspirations. But every now and then they lay an egg against a team that is dog shit. And they're facing a dog shit team this week at home. The Texans being at home. And I think the Rams are vulnerable here. And this is entirely a gut feeling. And not vulnerable to lose the game. They're going to win. But I feel like the Texans can cover in this game. They've been playing so bad. And the Rams have been playing good. The Rams are on a roll. And the Rams are going to win this game. I just think the Texans might believe enough, especially if Tyrod Taylor comes back into this game, believe enough to get blown out and then get a backdoor cover, or at least keep it semi-interesting. I'm not going to bet this. This is entirely me having a little bit of fun here because I think I don't know. I can't bet this big a fucking spread against a team that I think should murder the other. But it's still a big number. Jimmy, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I thought I might get a 7.5 first half. When I saw a 7, I was like, God, I can't take the Texans plus 7. I want to know that Tyrod Taylor is in, and I guess I just want nothing to do with this football game. And
of course not. You're not a crazy person, Jimmy.
I might be, but if I want nothing to do with it, then I imagine that the under will be in play. Because I liked what I saw for the Texans defense. And now they come home. And, you know, it wouldn't shock me to see the Rams kind of take it easy in this spot. And they're also coming off an emotional game. And this total has gone from 46 up to 48. What was the cash on the total again? It was, God, huge numbers on the under. Huge numbers on the under. Why would it be climbing if that was the case? 73% of tickets on the under, 98% of cash. Why would it be climbing? But I feel like it'll just be a very conservative game. Ron Crawford looking at the Rams team total over, but I want to know that Tyrod's in. But I guess that won't really matter other than it will spark the team. Dave McKenna says homecoming for Stafford from Texas. Yeah, Stafford and Kershaw went to high school together, same class or grade or whatever. So I'm interested in the under here. But we need to get the Tyrod Taylor information. Okay, so I'm not going to move on to tonight, and I'm going to stay close to the number here. Pinnacle's moved it to 48, so I'd like to see if Bet365 follows suit. All right, there you have it. Let's roll on, and that takes us to the 4:05 game. So we are done the 1 o'clock games. We move on to the 4:05 action. Just get this set up. Here we go. We start with the New England Patriots 3-4, 2-0 on the road at the Los Angeles Chargers 4-2, 2-1 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The Chargers open up as 5.5-point favorites. There's been no movement, being a 5-cent move towards the Patriots. This total opened up at 47.5 and is climbing. There's 48.5, 49, 49.5. Pinnacle hasn't moved it to 49 yet, so I find it interesting that the other books are moving so quickly when Pinnacle is not. And then we have the 3,757 tickets in. It's 50-50 with the tickets, but 59% of the cash is on the Chargers. Then we have 40% of tickets on the under and 84% of cash on the under. 84% of cash on the under, and it's gone up to 49 or 49.5. Interesting. Patriots coming off a 54-13 home dismantling of the New York Jets. First home victory of the year. Gained the season high 551 yards. Mac Jones, 24-36 for 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also carried the ball 3 times for 19 yards. It was his first NFL 300-yard game. Brandon Bolden caught 6 passes for 79 yards and a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne caught 4 passes for 68 yards. Damian Harris ran 14 times for 106 yards. They got 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Kyle Duggar and J.C. Jackson both added interceptions. Safety Devin McCourty abdomen left the game. He's questionable this week. Defensive lineman Carl Davis with a wrist injury left the game. He's questionable. Tight end Jonnu Smith left the game with a shoulder injury. He's questionable this week. Right guard Shaq Mason left in the fourth quarter with an injured abdomen. He's questionable. And then cornerback Sean Wade and linebacker Dante Hightower were inactive. Both listed as questionable. Chargers coming off their bye week. We last saw them in an ugly 34-6 loss at Baltimore, and Justin Herbert was shut down. 22-39, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. As a team, they ran 12 times for just 26 yards. It was interesting. And now they've had some time to sit with it. So they have this whole new offense under first-year coach Brandon Staley, offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi. And this has been a great year so far for the Chargers. So they're not down on themselves coming in the break, but they're angry with how bad they looked at Baltimore. Herbert has had 3 fourth-quarter comebacks, all against teams that made the playoffs last year. His 98.8 passer rating is 3rd in the AFC, only behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Mike Williams leads the AFC with 6 receiving touchdowns, 3rd in receptions with 33 yards and yards of 498. Keenan Allen's 3rd in the conference with 39 catches. Austin Eckler 5th in the conference with 598 yards from scrimmage. Jared Cook and Donald Parham have combined for 4 touchdowns. Kaiser White got 2 picks in that Baltimore game, and they did get 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits against the Ravens. I wonder if, with the Pats coming in off that shit kicking of a terrible Jets team that was, lost their starting quarterback against an angry Chargers team that is coming in off a bye, if this isn't a Chargers slam spot. Now, we've seen how good Belichick is against slowing down offenses. Let's hear what Bebsie has to say. Patriots, Chargers, take it away.
Look, I first and foremost, I think the Chargers win this game. I don't think that's saying anything crazy. They are the favorite for a reason. I wonder if there's a bit of a recency bias here in that the New England Patriots just came in and destroyed the Jets. We talked about Bill Belichick against rookie QBs. And we know that the Patriots defense is, they got a lot of players back who opted out last year, and they're a better unit. And I don't think they can hold the Chargers for a full game. But I'm interested in a possible first half under, because I can see the Chargers coming out a little bit slow here and then pouring it on as the game goes on and taking the lead and winning this game. I also haven't seen a ton of aggression out of New England, their offense, I mean. And that's, typical of a Bill Belichick offense with a young QB. So I feel that this game is a slow start for both teams. New England's defense being able to neutralize an offense that has started slow most of the time anyways. And Herbert's not a rookie, but he's still a young quarterback, and Bill likes to take advantage of these. So I think I'm going to jump on the first half under here. And I I think I really like that look. I just see this game starting slow, and I'm not interested in the total. I mean, if you gave me a free bet, I think I would have to take the Chargers here just because, again, the Chargers are a very good 4-2 team, and the Patriots are a very average 3-4 team. But I just see a slow start to this football game, even though the Chargers are coming off a bye. So that's my play here, Jimmy. I'm going to take the first half under in this game.
I like this look. It's very interesting. It's moving up quickly, and I mean, it depends what you want because 24 is a crucial number, and it's still just 23.5 at the books that we use. But you could wait for the 24 if you want. That may or may not come. Or you could take this under 23.5 that's sitting at plus 107 at Pinnacle. It's an interesting question that I will let you answer.
I'm going to take it now, and I'm going to take that plus money at Pinnacle.
First half under 23.5 at plus 107 at Pinnacle. I find this very, very, very intriguing. That look that you're on. And I do think that 5.5 is probably just a little much. Yeah,
I'm not interested in the total. And again, it's a
in the spread.
The spread. It's a bizarre number, and I do think it might be a little bit much. This Chargers team hasn't exactly been trouncing people.
No. There is a first half 3 available juiced at a few books that who knows if it'll stay available, but there is that. Todd Live for Sunday says, please, for the love of God, please put a little bend in that bill. Done. There you go. There's a little bend in the bill there, Todd Live for Sundays. This is not a flat bill, Todd Live for Sundays. Maybe the Live for Sundays and the love of God means you're a very Christian man, Todd. And may God bless you and your bullshit. All right, let's move on from the Pats Chargers game. We move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars at Seattle Seahawks. We're at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 52 Fahrenheit, sunny. 7 miles per hour is the wind. Jaguars are 1-5, 0-2 on the road. The Seahawks are 2-5, 0-3 at home. And the Jags come in off their bye week. This is a very interesting football team that I hope that we're capable of making money off of. Whether or not you believe in them or not, I think that they can become predictable even with their young starting quarterback. So first off, we have – let's move over to full game. Sorry, that was first half. We have the Seahawks opening up as 3-point favorites. There's been a 5-cent move towards them at Pinnacle. They opened up minus 112. They're now minus 117. Then from a total standpoint here in the Jags game, we have the total opening up at 43, and there's been some movement in a couple books. It's moved to 43.5 at some books, but it's only been a 2-cent move at Pinnacle from over 43 minus 108 to over 43 at minus 110. When we go over to the cash standpoint, we have just 1,866 tickets in. 30% of the tickets are on the Jaguars and 78% of the cash. Then we have 60% of tickets on the under, but just 23% of the cash on the under. We last saw the Jags and they snap their 20-game losing streak with a 23-20 win over Miami in the UK. Trevor Lawrence, 25 for 41 for 319 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Marvin Jones Jr. caught 7 passes for 100 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Agnew continued his rise up the roster. catching 5 passes for 78 yards, not a special teams only player anymore. James Robinson ran 17 times for 73 yards. They still had difficulty dialing up any pressure. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. The biggest disappointment, if you were looking at this team from a roster standpoint, is any corner that's lined up opposite Shaquille Griffin. Any corner that's lined up opposite him is getting burnt nonstop. But Trevor Lawrence has been making legitimate strides that everybody is seeing. The Seahawks come in off a short week after losing the Monday Nighter. We should take one look at the quickly changing Jacksonville injury report. So let's just take a look at there. Now they're coming off the bye, so Shark out for the season. They're a pretty healthy squad. They're a pretty healthy squad right now. So the Jags really have no issues there. It's more about what the Seahawks have, and we're not going to get a ton of information because they played last night and didn't practice today. So basically we'll get almost no information. But we can go over a couple things here. Seahawks coming off a short week after losing last night, 13-10 at home to the Saints. Geno Smith did his best and didn't make mistakes. And, I find that when there are these older backup quarterbacks that I'm like an old grandma watching his son or this grandson play sports. I'm like, well, he's trying hard. And I think about that with Geno. I'm like, well, he's trying. And what do you expect? He makes no mistakes. He stays conservative. The problem is that for 3 straight weeks, Geno Smith has had the opportunity in the final seconds to win a football game for his team, and he's incapable of doing that. So, yes, he won't make mistakes. He'll play very conservative football. He'll run. He'll give the ball to the running backs and then maybe burn you like he did with that DK Metcalf long pass. But when push comes to shove and they need to make a move, he's incapable of delivering that. Alex Collins ran 16 times for 35 yards. But, of course, you're going to fill the box up when you're going up against Geno Smith. But the defense was strong. They didn't get a ton of pressure, but they finished with 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. 3 straight losses overall for the first time in a decade. An 0-3 start at home for the first time in almost 30 years. And from a injury side of things, Marquise Blair, their safety fractured his kneecap. He's going to need surgery. Darrell Taylor, from that awful hit he took last week when he was carried out on a stretcher, he's going to be okay, but he's still questionable. John Reed, cornerback, questionable. Damian Lewis, questionable. Brandon Shell hurt his ankle and is questionable. D. Eskridge still in concussion protocol. Chris Carson has no timetable from his return. And Russell Wilson is not coming back this week. Bebsie, Jags, Seahawks, do you agree with this slight move to the Seahawks at home?
I mean, look, you're still going into Seattle as a rookie quarterback, playing with that noise. And they'll be loud, even though they're a little bit deflated right now. They're 2-5. Russ is out, like you said. Grandma's in, and I just think there's a little bit of value with the Jags here, for a couple of reasons. Look, I said this last week. Geno's still the same old Geno. Who's a little more mature. He's not like you said. He's not trying to do as much. But if he has to do something, he still doesn't have it. So he's a liability, and he's also, this is a team that was struggling to win games with Russell Wilson, and now Geno Smith is your quarterback. So that's going to be difficult. And I think the Seahawks mentality in this one, whether they want it to be or not, is going to be like, well, we should win versus the Jags. Whereas the Jags are coming into this as we can win against this team. And I think the team that is hungrier right now is Jacksonville. So Jacksonville on the road, the odds of Seattle losing a 4th to open the season at home is really difficult. But I'm not betting this, but I think if you need to bet this game, I think the value is in Jacksonville here.
I can understand that. I
don't see a Seattle defense that's going to be able to really stop Robinson. I I think both of these coaches have long since lost their fucking marbles. So I don't think there's a coaching advantage in this. And that speaks more to my disrespect of Pete Carroll than it does. I've been outspoken about thinking Urban Meyer's not an NFL quarterback or coach. I don't like this game at all. It's a stay away game for me, but I do see a little bit of value in Jacksonville here.
I was impressed with the Seahawks defense against the Saints off a bye. The Saints could do nothing except for Kamara. I mean,
I think the loss of Blair might be bigger than people think. And that guy is really, if you watch those games, that guy's been all over the field for them. He's been a quiet contributor to this team. I think that hurts them a lot.
I think that Al Cervix says another field goal game. Top Set says Seattle team total under. I think this under is in play again. What's going to keep me off of it for now, and it will take more study, but at this point, there is 40% of tickets on the over and 77% of cash, so big bets have come in on the over. Ron Crawford says 2017 either way. That was my initial thought. I really think the under is in play. And I was impressed with the Seahawks defense against the Saints. Caveman Bet says Jags defense is a lot weaker than the Saints, but the Seahawks can't really take advantage of that with Geno in there. I think the under is in play, but I'm not going to go up against big bets coming in on the over, so I'm going to keep my eye on that. Lou says play calling for the Seahawks unacceptable. They don't even give them an opportunity to win a game. There's truth to that because –
Man, I've been saying for the last 2 years that Pete Carroll's a liability at this stage. He is like the game is – I don't know if he's losing his marbles or if the game is passing him by or what, but Pete Carroll should not be coaching this team anymore.
Let's move on to the next spot. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Washington football team 2-5, 1-2 on the road at Denver Broncos. 3-4, 1-2 at home. We're at Empower Field in Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 50 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 9 miles per hour is the wind. This total opened up at 44. There's 44s, 43.5s, and 43s. Denver opened up as 3.5-point favorites. Now that was at plus 105, so take it with a grain of salt. But they've moved to 3. And Sports Interaction's gone ahead and moved them to 2.5-point favorites. If we go over to the cash flow in this spot, 2,143 tickets in. 67% of the tickets on Heineke in the Washington football team and 71% of the cash. And we don't have cash totals on the total, but we do know that 55% of tickets are on the under. 55% of tickets, and it's dropped a point, or at the most, it's dropped a point. But also, it's interesting that Pinnacle is the only spot that's moved it to 43. Actually, Bodog has two. Washington lost its third straight, despite outgaining Green Bay 430 to 304 and never punting all day. Never punting all day. It just makes me so fucking angry that I can't cash a plus 9.5 when I beat the market movement. I mean, just by 1.5. But it just makes me extremely angry. Washington had 5 scoreless trips inside the Green Bay's 30. Back-to-back series that ended inside the 5. God, just taking me back makes me angry and angrier. 25 first downs compared to the Packers' 19. Heineke, 25 for 37 for 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ran 10 times for 95 yards and is a little bitch. Just a little fucking bitch. That not getting in when he had 2.5 feet of room easy is about as angry as I've been all year. McLaurin was his number one target, 7 catches for 122 yards, 1 touchdown. Jonathan Allen had 2 sacks, give him 5 on the season. Chase Young never got to Rodgers, didn't touch him all day, and 1.5 sacks on the season. What the fuck's going on with Chase Young? As a team, they managed 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Cornerback William Jackson, knee injury. Offensive tackle Sam Cosmi, ankle. Guard Brandon Scherf, knee. Wide receiver Cam Sims. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Defensive end Shaka Tony. All missed Sunday's game. They're listed as questionable. Wide receiver Giammi Brown suffered a knee injury in the first half. Logan Thomas and Ryan Fitzpatrick are week to week. They're not coming back anytime soon. Broncos coming off a disappointing 17-4. Well, I shouldn't say anytime soon. They're not coming back this week. Let's just leave it at that. Broncos coming off a disappointing 17-14 loss at Cleveland against the Browns team, missing their top quarterback and 2 top running backs. They've now lost 4 straight, and they may have lost Von Miller to a sprained ankle. 8-time Pro Bowler, missed all of 2020 with a dislodged ankle tendon. He missed practice Tuesday. He's listed as day-to-day, but because of that dislodged ankle tendon, I don't know if he plays here. Bridgewater, 23 of 33 for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, playing through foot and quadricep injuries. This is a beat-up football team that's not looking good. Cortland led receivers with 5 catches for 68 yards. They got nothing out of their ground game. 14 carries for 41 yards. Javonte Williams ran 4 times for 20, caught 6 passes for 32 yards and a touchdown. Melvin Gordon looked atrocious. Ran 8 times for 18 yards. They managed just 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. Inside linebacker Micah Kaiser, groin left in the first quarter. They're already thin at linebacker. Alexander Johnson and Andre Mintz are on injured reserve. And then Kaiser was just placed on IR too. Coach Fangio said that defensive tackle Mike Purcell probably won't play against Washington. Fangio said Friday he expects Judy to return from injured reserve. But this is a beat-up Broncos squad. And it's interesting that – or, I mean, it just makes sense, I should say, that the market's moving towards Washington. Take it away, Bebsie, Washington, Broncos.
I mean, I don't know how you can back Washington going into Mile High. Even with the injuries to the Broncos, Washington's got some, significant injuries of their own, particularly to Logan Thomas, who I think really opens up this offense. He becomes that second receiving threat because really you're just operating with Terry McLaurin here and not too much else. So I'm, especially with it moving to a 2.5, I'm kind of intrigued on the Broncos at home here in a possible get right spot. Judy coming back, if for nothing more than opening up Cortland Sutton. Washington coming off a game in which they Green Bay didn't even try to run the ball, which blew my mind. I really thought those were easy looks there because I thought Green Bay would get up early and run the ball. They didn't. They barely had any carries. But I think you can see the Broncos get their running game going, but more so I have a little bit of faith in Judy. Again, not necessarily blowing up now that he's back, but opening up the game a little bit more for Cortland Sutton. So I think it's Broncos or no play here. I'm not super keen on jumping on it. And I also think the under's a possible look because, again, neither of these teams is a team that I think is going to pour on points.
Do you need to know that Von Miller is in the lineup? At this point, do you expect him to be in the lineup?
I took some pot shots at Von Miller's comments before last week. Yeah. And I wound up being right for the most part. I said he should have done something instead of saying that he was going to do something. And, what he did was end up getting injured and they lost anyways. I like Von Miller a lot. Obviously, he's had a pretty incredible career. He's obviously slowed down quite a bit. I don't know if he has an uptick next year after he's a little further removed from the injury, but it's not like he's playing out of his mind right now. It's not like if the Steelers lost TJ Watt. So I don't know how much that would factor in for me. Other than the fact that he is a vet, he is a leader. Obviously, the other guys on that defense are going to look up to him. I think at this point, he's more of an emotional leader than he is a playmaker, which is sad to say because, he's not even that old. Like, Von Miller should have many years left, but it just comes down to his health.
I'm having a tricky time with this game. I can understand the market move to Washington. I can understand trying to, with the Broncos with the extra days to prepare and it being such an important time for Fangio and the squad. And I can get not trusting Washington at all. But I'm hesitant at this point. Crystal Warren loving the over here. Says first bet I made without too much doubt. Says Washington hasn't held a team to less than 20 all year. And this total is at 43 at Pinnacle, 43.5 or 44 at different books. And right now we don't know where the cash flow is, but we know that 55% of tickets are on the under. You have any feel on this total, Bebsie, that's moving down slightly?
I get why it's moving down. As injured as this Broncos defense is, as underwhelming as this Washington defense is, I still don't necessarily see either offense being able to put up a ton of points. So I get, if I had a free play, I'd probably lean under, but I don't know.
Al Cervic has a good question. He says, is this Washington as a squad as good as a banged-up, short-handed Browns with Keenum? Now, remember, that game was in Cleveland and this game is in Denver. But is Washington as a squad as good as a banged-up, short-handed Browns team with Keenum?
It's a valid question, and I think the answer is no.
I was gonna say no. I think, but
I don't think that they are. Plus, I don't think they believe in themselves or believe in their opportunity as much as that banged up Brown squad does. There's depth stepping in for the Browns and playing well. I just think with Washington, they have a massively underwhelming defensive front seven right now, and I don't know what the problem is. There is talent there, and they have done nothing. So it's for me, it would be Denver or no play, and it's hard to bet Denver. I mean, the biggest upside for them is being at home right now.
We have Craig saying Broncos fan in Colorado here. I'm going with Washington money line at plus 140. It feels like with the Broncos having lost 4 straight, that if they lose this game, it's all going to fall apart and Fangio won't be here next year.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that Fangio was on the hot seat this past season, and a lot of people thought he would be gone. If they implode the way it looks like they might, then yeah, he might be gone before the year's done. But it's not like Washington is. It's not like Washington's been incredible.
AB says can't back Denver right now. As bad as Washington football team's defense is, I might look to Denver team total under 23.5. All right, that game's going to need more time. Interesting that Crystal Warren's so bullish on this over. Al Sari says go watch first half of Thursday. 71 yards in the half for the Broncos. And if you want this 3 for Washington, if you want to have Washington plus 3, you got to move on it now. And Washington, from a yards perspective, was playing so well in that football game. Maybe Washington plus 3 should be moved on it. Craig says Fangio and Shermer should have been gone before the season started. Let's just take one last look at where the money is in this spot. It's all on Washington. 67% of tickets, 71% of cash on Washington. Huh. God, maybe I should grab that 3. This Broncos team looks like it just might. I mean, Bridgewater dealing with all these injuries. I guess I should wait to see what happens with Judy, because Judy comes back and changes their offense a great deal, and you mentioned that. So maybe I'll wait a little bit. Nate Dogg, 420 in the house. Great to have you. Paul Young says Washington playing better on D. Should have been in the Green Bay game until the end. A few bad breaks. God, you're so right. And God, is as angry as I've been when Heineke didn't get over the touchdown line. It's about I gotta let go of it. I'm still just filled with fucking seething anger. Okay, I have interest in Washington at plus 3. especially with Craig in Colorado. Alex Everett said I'm in Colorado too. They're back to square one after this year. Players will start to realize. Pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson says Judy is back. Brady says ugly game. C-Mac says ugly game. Okay, let's move on. We move on to a very interesting spot here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6-1, 2-1 on the road. New Orleans Saints, 4-2, 1-1 at home. Clearly, the Buccaneers are the best team in the league at home and on the road, vulnerable. And I don't mean to simplify things that much, but it seems like that's the case right now. Now, in week 14, will they also be the best team on the road? Possibly. That's what happened last year. But right now, they seem a little vulnerable on the road. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. We got 3 games left on this card. Bucks open up at -4. They're now -5 right across the board. This total opened up at 50.5. There are 50s. There are 49.5s. There's been a 13-cent move on the 50.5 at Pinnacle, but they haven't moved it down to 50. Jonathan Patino says, no way Bucks don't win by 2 touchdowns against these Saints. Dennis Stretsy says, New Orleans kicked that Seattle ass. I mean, I am totally biased when saying that. Yeah. Viper says New Orleans 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 games when playing Tampa. And my man R says, get on Tampa. Buccaneers, New Orleans. Buccaneers coming. Oh, let's take a look at the cash flow in this spot. We have 4,375 tickets in. They say with 80% confidence that the Buccaneers will go to -5.5. So if you want the Buccaneers, best get in now. 81% of the tickets on the Buccaneers, 97% of cash. Wow. Then you have 51% of tickets on the over, 97% of cash on the over. Jonathan Patino, the Saints only got Kamara doing all the work for offense. That was so clear here on Monday. I'm there on a short week. Al Cervix says I'm on Tampa Bay here. Brady will not hold back whatsoever in division with Peyton. Buccaneers coming in off a dominant 38-3 home win over the Bears, won their 4th straight game, off to their best 7-game start in franchise history. Brady will just keeps on rolling. 20 of 36, 211 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. So he's now up to 602 career touchdown passes. He's now throwing at least 20 touchdown passes in the season 19 times. Drew Brees, 17, Peyton Manning, 16, Phillip Rivers, 15, Favre, 15. And they're all retired. Tampa Bay's offensive line is being so good. They've allowed 9 sacks in 7 games. Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, sideline. Chris Godwin gets 8 catches for 111 yards. Mike Evans, 6 catches for 76 yards, 3 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette runs 15 times for 81 yards and a touchdown. They got 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They get safety Antoine Winfield back in the lineup after missing 2 games with a concussion. Right off the top, he sacks Fields on the second play of the game, forcing a fumble. I mean, Chicago did recover, but Buccaneers played without Brown, Gronkowski, Levante David, and Richard Sherman, and those are their only injuries to speak of. Saints come in off a 13-10 win at Seattle off their bye week. It was very underwhelming. Winston was 19 of 35 for 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception. It was all Kamara. I mean, we're sitting here waiting for Michael Thomas or somebody to come back to take the pressure off of Kamara. He ran 20 times for 51 yards, caught 10 passes for 128 yards. Their defense did get pressure and did look good. Davenport was back. He looked very good. 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Bebsie, here we go. The final afternoon game on the card. Bucs Saints, take it away.
Are you guys ready for this? Are you ready? You ready, Jimmy? You ready for this?
I believe I am.
Revenge game. Jameis Winston. Go. No, they're going to get the shit knocked out of them. First half, full game. I'm taking the Bucs in this. The Bucs are just such a better team. We're looking New Orleans squeaking out a 13-10 victory after the depleted Seahawks. Coming out of a bye, I have no faith in this New Orleans team. I'm not sure who said it, but yeah, Kamara is the only thing going right now for this offense. This defense is, playing good in spots, not playing great in others. This Tampa team is going to protect Tom Brady. They are going to knock the piss out of New Orleans this week. Again, first half, full game. I'm on the Bucs here.
Bucs all over the Bucs, and Jameis getting not a lot of love here.
All right, look. I believe that Jameis Winston will be fine.
I think that Jameis Winston should win Comeback Player of the Year, possibly lead the NFL in passing yards. Winston looked so in control, and he's just different.
This is a different Jameis. We talked about it last week. I have faith in Jameis, but is it as simple as laser eye surgery? Is it?
Jameis Winston looked lost, and he's incapable of communicating and making smart decisions. He's just incapable between the ears of playing elite football in the NFL.
I'm not going to sell on him yet, but he did look terrible.
Jameis Winston, 13 of 21, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and I was impressed. You know, he's not eating W's and throwing 2 fingers directly into his mouth anymore.
I bet Jameis Winston drives around with no seatbelt. I love this guy. He was in command of the offense. He didn't make mistakes, and he looked like good Jameis Winston. Will we see good Jameis Winston again this week? Maybe.
Jameis Winston. He is fine. It's
Jameis Winston, is he back? I don't know.
Now, I would be doing Jose a disservice. Will Jameis Winston take advantage of them? I doubt it. I mean, he's going to make a couple of plays for sure. I think as long as he plays within a small structure that I'm sure Sean Payton is going to keep him on a short leash and just make sure he doesn't fuck up, which Jameis loves to do.
I'm nervous. Because I don't know what Payton has in store.
But listen, Jameis Winston might be my favorite player in the NFL right now that doesn't wear red and gold.
Yeah, he's a fortune cookie, man. Just don't know.
He's so much fun.
I don't know, but I'm betting against him. So I hope he lodges 2 fingers crossed into his mouth and tells everybody that he's going to be successful. I can't wait to add Bebsie's opening from this into that cup. Shout out to our man Jose. -3 first half for Bebsie. Bebsie -3. I feel like this is going to be such a public side, but it just does make so much sense. Let's go back to where it is right now. 81% of the tickets on the Buccaneers and 97% of the cash. Oh, God. -3 first half, -115. I get it. Full game. And the public has been doing so well. Full game. Let's see what we can get, Bebsie. God, I'm going to have to think about this for a little while, but I think I jump on it. There's Mr. Nimbus in the house. Full game, -5, -110, available at Bet365. -5, -110, available at Bet365 for Bebsie. So that's a penny and Bet365. I like it, Bebsie. I think I might have to join you here. Ron Crawford says New Orleans, better rush and better overall defense. Take the Saints. And Al Cervic says, I saw a kid in college game yesterday eat a W when the camera hit him. Jesus.
That's going to be like an ironic celebration for years to come.
Yeah, I just throwing a couple fingers in your mouth will never be a good look. It's just never in any circumstance.
It's literally the worst pep talk I've ever seen in my life.
It's so public, but it makes sense. That's the Saints Buccaneers spot. We move on. The Sunday night game. This one's shaping up to be a beauty. 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Dallas Cowboys 5-1, 2-1 on the road at the Minnesota Vikings 3-3, 2-1 at home. A lot of moving parts to the injury report with both of these squads. So I'd like to have the actual report right in front of me. Let me get it. Here we go. We're at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Cowboys open up as 1-point favorites, and that moves quickly. 2.5. There's even a 3 at Bodog. This total climbing fast as well. Opens up at 53, now at 55 or 55.5. Let's see if the cash follows suit. There will be 100,000 tickets on this game. Right now, there's just 6,203, and that's a lot for the Sunday Nighter. 86% of the tickets on Dallas Cowboys, 94% of the cash on Dallas Cowboys on the spread. Then we don't have the cash on the total at this point, but we do know that 83% of the tickets are on the over, and that makes sense watching this total climb. Watching it climb. Crystal Warren says next Pub Sports merch better include a shirt with Winston with his fingers in his mouth. Crystal Warren also said someone put this out. Why so many, me included, have been liking Bucks Brady after hating him all our lives? Says Brady's out here vibing, while Pat's Brady was the Darth Vader to Belichick's Palpatine. Let's go and break this fascinating game down. We last saw that both teams coming in off their bye. We last saw the Cowboys in a 35-29 overtime win at New England. Prescott was 36 of 51 for 445 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, and he is dealing with a calf strain that he suffered against New England. But the Week 7 bye, he and his team are optimistic that he'll play. And if you look at this market move towards the Cowboys, you have to think that he will. Dak Prescott is very confident. The first Dallas quarterback with at least 3 TD passes in 4 straight games says, we know we are for real. CeeDee Lamb caught 9 passes for 149, 2 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz caught 5 passes for 79 yards. This team is rolling, and they've been dealing with a ton of injuries. What are they going to be like when they're healthy? Michael Gallup hasn't played since the opener because of calf strain. 4-time All-Pro Zach Martin missed the final 5 games last year after playing through the calf strain. He was injured in practice, aggravated the strain 10 days later in the second game since the injury. Dallas came out of Sunday with the second most penalties in the NFL, 48 of them, fourth most yards. And it's been a problem. It's been a problem that has been talked about, so we'll see if it changes. Trayvon Diggs is a monster. Right when you think that he's just as highly thought of as can get, he returns an interception, 42 yards for a go-ahead touchdown late in the fourth quarter. He has interceptions in all 6 games, tying an NFL record to start the season, 7 overall, and 2 touchdowns. Tyron Smith added a left ankle injury to the neck issue that limited him in practice during the week. So we'll see if he's good to go right now. We have in their injury report, Urban and Kennedy, defensive end and quarterback, are out. Tristan Hill, defensive tackle, out. Was designated to return, though, from the PUP list on Monday, PUP list. Francis Bernard, linebacker, designated to return as well. Michael Gallup, designated to return. I'm very interested to see what he will do. You'll have Neville Gallimore, defensive tackle, isn't going to be practicing anytime soon, so he's unavailable. And we expect Dak to be good to go. So let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings here. God, this game's going to be so much fun. Let's figure out how to get paid off of it. Coming in off a 34-28 overtime victory over Carolina. Kirk Cousins looking so good this year. 33 of 48, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Dalvin Cook, 29 carries for 140 yards. Thielen caught 11 passes for 126 yards, 1 touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 8 receptions for 80 yards. Cousins has this is interesting to see Minnesota moving forward and see how comfortable Cousins has been in tough situations. Has a league-high 71 pass attempts, not including clock-stopping spikes, in either the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or in overtime since the start of the 2020 season. And he's way ahead of anybody else. Tannehill has 53. So in those situations, only Derek Carr has more touchdown passes than Cousins.
One of these days, people are going to have to admit Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback.
I think so. And then you have KJ Osborne adding to Jefferson and Thielen and changing the dynamic of this offense. Only Kansas City, the Rams, and Tampa, they're the only 3 teams in the league with more combined receiving yardage from their top 3 pass catchers than the Vikings. The offensive line has looked very good of late. In the last spot in Carolina, when Cook rushed for 140 yards, Cousins was not sacked. That came against a defense that's still, I know we have, losing faith in that Panthers defense, but it's still in the top 5 in NFL in fewest yards allowed, sacks per pass attempt, and lowest third down conversion percentage. Darisaw made his first career start and took all 89 snaps at Carolina after rotating in with Rashad Hill, and Brian Burns was completely under control. So what are the problems? Is Greg Joseph. Guy can't be trusted. If it comes down to a big kick and Greg Joseph walks out there, you trust him to hit it. And this is a very healthy team coming out of the bye. Patrick Peterson went on injured reserve on Monday after hurting his hamstring in the fourth quarter against the Panthers. Michael Pierce missed his second straight game with an elbow injury. He's on track to be here. Back in the lineup post-bye. This is a very healthy squad. Bebsie, take it away. Market moving towards the Cowboys. Do you like them as a road favorite?
Yeah, I think so, and I think because of what we've known to think of Dallas, because we see it year after year, is we wait for Dallas to implode. We wait for Dallas to shit the bed. They've been the butt of so many jokes since their early to mid 90s dynasty that they had, and with good reason. I mean, being that they're America's team, everybody's always talking about this is our year. They're like the Maple Leafs of the NFL. Like, the fans are just ludicrous. But this Dallas football team, and I was shitting on them early. I'm willing to admit that I was probably wrong with that. This football team is looking good, particularly this offense. They've played through some injuries. They have Mike McCarthy as a coach, and they're doing well. And so I think for a lot of reasons, that's why this spread is as close as it is. And look, I've been an advocate for the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a better team than their 3-3 record suggests. Their kicker being part of that problem. So I think I would have to back the Cowboys if I had to make a play in this. But look, the Vikings are more than capable of keeping it close. And Kirk Cousins, I've said this on the show before. If he wasn't such a dork, people would talk about him differently, because he just consistently does well. He consistently ends up, on the leaderboard for yards and touchdowns, and he just does well, and people just find reasons to shit on him, which there are some, but he doesn't deserve the disrespect he has. So, look, I lean Dallas. I want to take Dallas here, but I think Minnesota could very well upset them. I lean towards this over. Even at 55, it's a big number. I still think neither of these defenses are capable of shutting down the other team's offense.
And that's why this total is being hammered. It's now at 55. I wonder if there's still value at 55. Oh, it's 55 and a half now at 365. It just keeps climbing. So the issue is, and Birdie nails it, says need to know if Dak's calf strain is good, because you could see the Cowboys up 7 or 10 points and Dak moving out to the right and then crumbling to the ground.
Yeah, and they immediately fall apart without him. We saw it last year. We saw, the offensive line was pretty banged up last year as well. But they become stagnant without him. So I hope he's not, obviously I never root for injuries, even with rival teams. I hate to see it. So you hope Dak is fine and healthy. Football's better with him out there. So
definitely.
It's
that's the answer to JT's question. He says, "What's stopping you guys from betting the over now?" And it's the calf muscle with Dak.
Yeah, I mean, he goes down, and that bet is as good as gone the moment he goes down. So, I've said this before about various games on this show. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy football in this game. I don't have a play, except expect me to be live on props in this game come Sunday.
Yeah, without a doubt. AB wondering if you're going to go with a Zeke and Pollard double up. That will require a more study. That is your Sunday nighter. Dallas Cowboys Minnesota Vikings. The cast strain is a real issue for me. I do not want to have money involved. Look, if they're going to bring him out there, he's good to go at the start of the game, but will he be good later? And Preston Ekdahl still says Saints defense wildly underrated. So a lot of discussion on whether the Saints defense is for real. Let's move on to the Monday nighter. New York Giants at Kansas City Chiefs. This one is a very interesting spot. 43 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. We just have this all set up here for this spot. There we go. So from a market standpoint, we have the Chiefs opening up as 10-point favorites. That's where it stands right now. It would open up at -10 at plus 106. It's now -10 at plus 102. This total still at 52.5. No movement on the total. We have 2,963 tickets in, 41% of the tickets on the Giants, 45% of the cash, then 55% of the tickets on the under, and 92% of cash on the under. Giants come in to the Monday nighter off their best game of the season, 25-3 dismantling of the Panthers at home. It was an easy casher for us. DJ was 23 of 33 for 203 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Also caught a touchdown pass. Darius Slayton caught 5 passes for 63 yards. Evan Ingram finally. And then Evan Ingram sighting caught 6 passes for 44 yards. Devontae Booker looked good, ran 14 times for 51 yards. And the Giants as a team ran 31 times for 103 yards. The Giants still struggled to score touchdowns. Kenny Golladay knee, Kadarius Toney ankle, Sterling Shepard hamstring, running back Saquon Barkley ankle were all inactive. They're all listed as questionable to go this week. The Giants got pressure on Darnold all day, 6 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. They held Carolina to just 2 for 15 on third down. Azeez Ojulari had 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Jabril Peppers is listed as questionable with knee and ankle injuries. But he looked very good against the Panthers. 5 tackles, 1 sack. Chiefs come in off an embarrassing 27-3 loss to Tennessee. They're 3-4. They've lost 2 of 3. They're 1-4 in the AFC this season. They were held to their fewest total points since December 30th, 2012. This was the first time Patrick Mahomes had trailed by 27 at the half. Their 3rd largest halftime deficit since 1991. The worst since the Chiefs were down 29-0 at the half in 2016. Only the 8th time in franchise history that Kansas City trailed by 27 or more at the half. Patrick Mahomes, 20-35, 206 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. He took a very hard hit and left the game. He passed concussion protocol. He was available to come back in. They decided not to bring him back in. He will be available to start the Monday nighter. He ran 6 times for 35 yards. He did fumble twice, losing 1 of them. Henny came in and was 11 for 16 for 82 yards. Byron Pringle caught 5 passes for 73 yards. Kelsey 7 for 65. Tyreek Hill 6 catches for 49 yards. The Chiefs only ran the ball 13 times. 6 of those were from Mahomes. They finished with 13 carries for 77 yards. Nick Bolton played tough all game. And I know that Andy Reid loved every second of it when they're down so much. 15 tackles, 4 for a loss. But they couldn't get any pressure on Tannehill. They sacked him once. They hit him 4 times. Bebsie, do you see a bounce-back spot for the Chiefs? Is 10 too many points? How do you see this spot?
I feel like 10 might be a bit too many points. They've really been uninspiring. And, I know it says on the ticker there that the Giants are 5-1. I think unless I've had a stroke, I don't think that's accurate.
No, it's not. And by the way, we just had the news come in from AB. Jabril Peppers, this was announced 4 hours ago, out for the season with torn ACL.
Look, I think the under is very much in play in this game. It's one of these things where we don't want to bet against the Chiefs because you still know with the weaponry they have and the fact that they have a very good O-line, that hasn't been the problem. You know what they're capable of and you're not seeing it. So I think that's what keeps these spreads high. But we're not seeing it. Week in and week out, we're not seeing it. There's something wrong in KC, and what it is, I don't know. So I have apprehension betting them, even against the Giants. But I just feel like this total is very high for one offense that isn't good at all and one offense that has not been playing well. Am I missing something? Why is this such a high total?
Well, at this point, we have 55% of tickets on the under and 92% of cash.
I think I have to jump on this under. It seems absurdly high.
Does feel high. It's nice weather in Kansas City, but still cold. Yes, Christopher Reese, that's the mistake with the graphics. The Giants are 2-5, 1-2 on the road. Al Cervix says 10 points. It should not be 10 points.
I don't think it should. Look, I'm not betting the Giants, but if you are, take the points in the Giants. KC is not they have not been playing deservedly of this spread. But this total seems so high to me. And I'm gonna move on this. I'm gonna take the under here.
Well, let's lock you in. There has been a significant market move. There's been a 9-cent move to the under. So like a legitimate move to the under, but it hasn't moved any points. Still sitting at 52.5. It does feel high. He says both defenses are liabilities. Big Joe Bet says KC is the chalk equals a loss. J Dub says Patrick Mahomes 7-3 against the spread after a loss. And R says way too high. This is a nice look, I think. Al Service says I've said for 4 weeks and your Chiefs defense is invisible. The Giants have lost so many playmakers on offense. They just can't be counted on to get the touchdowns in the red zone. And they're going to kick field goal after field goal after field goal. I believe they had 4 field goals in the last game. And those field goals on long drives will keep this total under. I think this is a great look, Bebsie. I think I may be rolling with you here. Under 52.5, you can get a -110. And by the way, some dicey offshore books have already moved it to 51.5. Books that we don't name because they're not to be trusted. I've already moved it to 51.5. So under 52.5 at -110, available at Bet365. Bebsie's on the board. JT likes it too. I like it as well. JT says Monday Night Football, Chiefs offense against bad defense. High total for public, but sharps on the under. Well put. Christopher Reese says under definitely appealing. Yeah, it's just too high. It's just too high. And what does Jabril Peppers being out do to this defense? What do you say, Bebsie?
To be honest with you, from my standpoint, not too much. Jabril Peppers is a tremendous athlete with minimal impact. I mean, at Michigan, he was this like utility piece that they moved everywhere. They even played him at running back from time to time. But you often see these guys get moved to the NFL level. Now it's like, okay, well, you have to have a position. We don't move guys around like that in the NFL unless you're Jamal Adams, which is basically an extra linebacker. But he's never been a dominant player to me. Athleticism, great. Ability's great. But this doesn't factor in that much for me.
Al Sirius says Monday night refs wanted to keep it scoring. I think there's going to be long drives from the Giants that just end up with field goals. So I like this look on the under 52.5. I think I'm going to ride with you. I have it filled with asterisks. There is every game on the Week 8 NFL card. Let's review the action that is locked in and what we are thinking about. I want to see how high this Packers line goes. Curious. I understand the issues the Packers have. A cornerback with injuries to Jair Alexander and Kevin King, and I understand the issues now that they have with COVID to their wide receivers. But I think that Rodgers will like this adversity, and I think that they can keep this somewhat close. And they could also just give it up like they did in the Saints game and say, relax. So, it kind of goes both ways there. Then in Sunday's action, Bebsie's looking at Pitts and Patterson props. I'm going to be looking at Chuba Hubbard props against this Falcons.
I'm going to be looking at that too. I like that look, Jimmy. As soon as you said it, that's going to be a look for me on come Sunday.
Good. Yeah, it just makes a ton of sense. Birdie, much love to you, my man. Harold Williams already hitting with Anthony Davis over 25 points. I like it. And then Falcons, I'm going to move on the Falcons. I just think that this is a time to put our foot on the throat of the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to move on. And then Dolphins, Bills. At this point, Bebsie's looking at Gesicki props. That's it for us. I'm not moving on this game. No movement on the line or this total, the spread of the total. So it feels like it's sharp. Bebsie looking at a Herbert prop in the Niners-Bears game if Kinlaw and Hurst are out. And I have some interest in the Bears. And then Birdie said punt prop. And Al Cervic really liked that. And that makes a ton of sense to me. So I'm going to take a look at what the punt prop is. And then, obviously break down how many punts have been in the other games that they've played so far this year. Bebsie is a Browns double up. First half -2.5, -115. Full game -3.5 and -105. Cleveland Browns double up. We, on the Eagles Lions, Bebsie's moved on the Eagles -3 and the over 47.5 and -110. And I can't get the 3, but I get the look, but I can get the over, and I believe that I will. Then Bebsie's looking at Derrick Henry props in Titans Colts. The under 43 is appealing to me in Bengals Jets. I expect to move on that. Then we're going to see if Tyrod's back in the lineup. But if he is, I like this under 48 in Rams Texans. And in all honesty, even with Davis Mills in, I like it. And I'm going to move on it. I like the under 48 in Rams Texans. I'm going to make sure that this is the right time to jump in. Then Bebsie's moved on the first half under 23.5 in Patriots Chargers. I also find this look quite fascinating, and I'm going to study it a little more. Ron Crawford coming in with the spreadsheet plays Philadelphia, New York Jets, New Orleans, and Kansas City. I'll copy and paste that right now. Copy and paste Ron Crawford's action. Then the Jags Seahawks. I still like the under, but the big bets have come in on the over, so I'm certainly not going to move on it tonight. And we'll pause. I kind of like Washington at +3. I think that if they can win a football game, they can keep their season alive. But same goes with the Broncos at 3 and 4. And Judy's coming back, so I may wait on that. Bebsie is the Buccaneers double up, first half and full game. I don't think I'm going to move on that, but I completely understand why you are doing it. And then Cowboys Vikings at this point, no move, and that's just because of the calf strain, with Dak Prescott. And then on the last spot on the card, Bebsie's moved on the under 52.5 in the Giants Chiefs. And I want to jump on. That. I like that look a lot. So let's pop this here, this spot, get that copied and pasted. And Big Joe bets. Josh Keogh-Kanlai says take the Bears to me. No Nagy beats Bears should cover. And Big Joe Bets is on Bills team total over 31.5, Bengals -10, Tampa -5, Tampa team total over 27.5, Dallas -2.5, Patriots +5.5, and then in college he's got a bunch of looks. Thank you for sharing that with us, Big Joe. I'm going to copy and paste that. Thank you for sharing your insight. R says the Dolphins cover the spread. It's too high. And Justin Deep Brar says Bills, Rams, Chargers even money. It's one of my best looks. We be pubbin', says Justin Deep. Thank you for that. Bebsie, my man, great hustle. Another Tuesday night in the books. We need a week here, fucking bad. And I know we're going to break through. We just do every year. Why would we not now? And pressure's on, and it's tough to deal with it, but I think we can handle it. Bebsie, any last words for these great cappers in the chat that inspire us, make us laugh, and share their great insights and angles with us?
All of you are the best. Thank you as usual. But I feel good. We're gonna turn around. I said I didn't feel good at the start of the show, and I was feeling down, and I wasn't happy. And now maybe it's the IPAs talking, but I feel fucking good. I feel good. Let's fucking go.
On behalf of all of you guys, Christopher Reese, Al Cervic, Fernando Encinas, Big Joe Betts, R, Justin Deep Brar, Joshua Keogh-Kanlai, Al Cervic, James, Ron Crawford, Puzzler, Crystal Warren, Top Set, Harold Williams, Birdie. Thank you guys so much. AB, man, JT. We've got nothing without you guys and your support. It truly means the world to us. So thank you. Let's have ourselves a giant fucking week. We need it badly. I expect it to happen. I need it to happen. It's going to happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Glory awaits for week 8. Let's fucking